Is ready, right?
Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing. I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
This is Nnamdi Asamoah. I play football for the Philadelphia Eagles, but what I do off the field with United Way might be more important. I'm a volunteer tutor and mentor. Why? Because over 1 million kids a year drop out of school, and that's not okay. It takes 12 years to create a graduate, but it takes about the same time to create a dropout. And the difference between a child becoming one or the other could be me, or it could be you. Studies show that if we get to these kids earlier, their chances are better, and kids who read well by 3rd grade are more likely to graduate. So join me in United Way. Suit up and take the pledge. Become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor, because when a child succeeds, we all succeed. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Take the pledge at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way, the Ad Council, and the National Football League.
They'll challenge your authority. They'll try to break your will. They'll push you to the edge of your sanity. Because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory, not theirs. Defend it. Who makes the payments? Who cleans it? Who drives it? You do. That's who. And in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch. Until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.
Let's go inside the mind of a 10-year-old.
I should have worn those earrings today. I like those earrings. Gabby has those awesome earrings. I need to ask her where she got those, but that's just what she would want me to do. I'll have Michaela ask her for me.
Buckle up, Sarah.
Yeah, but then Michaela will be like, why don't you just ask her yourself? That's just like Michaela.
Sarah, buckle up.
Michaela's such a great name. I wish I was called Michaela. There's like a dozen Sarahs in my class.
Hey, we're not hitting the road until you buckle up, honey.
Oh yeah, seatbelt. I forget sometimes because my brain is like busy, you know? I wonder if there's pizza at school today.
Sometimes it can be tough to get through to your kids, but it's not impossible. Always make sure they're wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Remember, you have the keys, you have the power. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover guitar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Dear John, I was hoping it wouldn't come to this, but you've left me no choice. I'm leaving. Uncontrolled high blood pressure is really serious, and lately you seem to really not care. I've been there for you since day one, and I know you think I'm going to keep ticking. But no, my friend, I can quit whenever I want. Why can't we get back to the good times, when we were more active and ate more healthy foods, and you checked on me every once in a while? Is that too much to ask? I don't want to leave, but unless you stop ignoring me, what else am I supposed to do? Remember, when I quit, you quit. Sincerely, your heart.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Doing the minimum to control your high blood pressure isn't doing enough. High blood pressure can lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get your blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late. Find out how at heart.org/blood pressure. Check, change, control. A message from the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Jason Derulo. I love that music connects to people all over the country. But unfortunately, so does something else. Childhood hunger. 15 million kids struggle with hunger right here in America. And yet, every year, billions of pounds of surplus food in the U.S. go to waste instead of going to the children in need. Feeding America is working to change this. The Feeding America nationwide network of food banks rescues this surplus of food to help provide meals to families in virtually every community in the United States, including yours. But they just can't do this alone. Join me in the fight against hunger in America. For more information on what you can do to get involved, visit feedingamerica.org. That's feedingamerica.org. Together we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America. A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone. Let's all stop what we're doing right now and take a moment. That felt good, huh? Just like that, we had a nice special sort of moment together. Of course, they don't all need to be quiet moments to be special. They could be loud moments, goofy moments, sporty moments, dorky moments. Moments where we talk or walk or just hang out. It doesn't really matter. They all count. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. Sounds like somebody agrees. So let's take a moment to make a moment. Today, call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
What are you talking about?
No, it's not him. There's only one more. There is only one more. That's it. One more. Get arrest! No!
They saw your team put up zero effort.
Wake up!
Remember in the old days they used to have oxygen for them. Where's the oxygen? Play like absolute just garbage.
This is the Sports Loudmouths.
Yay!
Man, can you keep it down? I'm trying to introduce here. With Errol Marks and Speedy Beatty.
You're not even a has-been. You're never was. You're never was.
March 9th, ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the Sports Loudmouths. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey 631-672-3108 is the number to call. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, check out all our listings of shows. And ladies and gentlemen, you can listen to the Sports Loudmouths, which airs every single Wednesdays at 7 p.m. and Thursdays at 9 p.m. as you're listening to us live and in color right now on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, all of them. We are on every single platform. Speeder, what's up, man?
A little disappointed with my New York Rangers. Not doing so well against a
How do you like that
tanking
evil laugh right
Montreal
there?
Canadiens team. Well, you're the evil purple Urple, according to our comic book guest from a couple of years ago.
That's right.
Yes.
I am the evil purple Urple.
Your villain origin story. If you want to convey that to the listeners on air, you can more do that for another intro.
I don't think it would fit this show tonight.
That's why I said another time.
It should be another time, but we've had so many great shows throughout the network for years, and there's so many great guests, including last night's guests and tonight's guests. We've had a tremendous amount of personalities on this show, and you being one of them, Speedy. Remember when you first came on this network?
2017, yes, it was my cousin's birthday. I remember that one.
I remember it, and you were wearing a suit.
I was.
And you were, pitching yourself to me and telling me a lot about you in college, your analytics, and all the different things that you did in college in Connecticut. And now you're here. You've been with me for what, 5 years now?
Yeah, about 5.5.
5.5 years with the Big E. And look where you are now. Look where you are now, Speedy. You're working and jerking, right?
Jerking?
Yeah. You like beef jerky?
It's all right.
What do you mean it's all right? You don't like beef jerky?
It's all right.
I like beef jerky.
Okay.
Have you ever jerked the jerky?
No.
Well, you have to think about it. Think about it.
Why would I think about that?
Jerking a jerky.
No.
You ever stretched the jerky?
No.
Well, you have to try that. Stretch that beef jerky and then eat it.
Why would I have any reason to do that?
It's delicious, Speedy. You have to taste and stretch the beef jerky.
I need to stretch it to taste it, but okay.
Yeah, well, it's a part of this wonderful side of our network. So you have to try it one time.
No, I'm not going to.
Okay, anyways, at 9:30, we'll be talking to WPLG, Miami sports anchor and reporter, Clay Ferraro. And at 10 o'clock, we will be talking to former Rockies, Pirates, Cardinals catcher, and current AT&T Sportsnet MLB analyst, Michael McHenry. He will be joining us a little bit later in the show for the first time on this show. So we're very lucky to get him on, and we'll get into a lot of baseball, the Baseball Classic, and all the craziness of what's going to go on this season, as a lot went on today for the New York Yankees. We'll get into that in just a few moments. The Jets meet again with Aaron Rodgers today. Very optimistic about making this trade. So we will get into that. The Jets also cut Braxton Berrios in trade for safety Chuck Clark from the Ravens. I'm sure you're going to see a lot of players being dropped by the Jets and some additions in free agency and maybe at trades, because obviously the New York Jets are trying to land Aaron Rodgers. So they're going to have to free some salary cap. Several NFL players, including J.J. Watt and the Honey Badger, accused the NFL for collusion in regards for trading for Lamar Jackson. So we'll get into that. I'm sure there's a lot to get into with that. Everybody heard my monologue yesterday about the whole Lamar Jackson thing. A lot more to get into. Former NFL general manager Michael Lombardi believes the Rams would love to trade Matthew Stafford this offseason. Not surprised. With the shoulder injury, nobody believes that Matthew Stafford will ever be at 100% again. And he has a back injury, too, that could really be career-ending. So, very interesting story. Kevin Durant suffers a grade 2 ankle sprain in warm-ups last night. Couldn't miss the rest of the regular season. So, after the trade, he finally gets to play a home game and gets hurt shooting baskets. So, there you go. Kevin Durant falling apart. Carlos Rodon suffers a left forearm injury in first spring training start. Will likely miss the first month of the season. Some people say he could be back at the end of April or the beginning of May. So very interesting for the Yankees, as they already lost an important piece to that pitching staff, and Frankie Montas, who had shoulder surgery a couple of weeks ago. He will be out practically the whole season, be back at the end of the season at best. So not good for the Yankees. Aaron Judge reportedly turned down an offer over $50 million more from the Padres in order to return to the Yankees this offseason. So we'll get into that as Aaron Judge showing you why he wants to be a Yankee for life. The captain, Captiano, right? You like that? Captiano?
At this rate, he might have to pitch if there's any more injuries.
Stop making jokes about the Yankees, because we haven't heard anything from the Mets yet, but we will very, very soon.
I'm not denying that. I was the one that did not like the Verlander.
I know you want to make fun of the Yankees. Everybody wants to throw the Yankees under the bus, as everybody believes the Yankees are coming out of the American League this year. And with the 2 early pitching injuries, a lot of people are smirking and laughing about it. But the Yankees always laugh last. So there you go.
Snug, go reply to your comment. Kenny might come on if he calls.
How
Anchorage
wonderful.
Man, we'll try to get Anchorage Man on again before the NBA playoffs, but he will not be on tonight.
Why do they love him so much?
Because he was
because he's a
praising the
Boston
Celtics
guy, yeah.
Malcolm Brogdon move. I don't even know if he was a Celtics fan. He was just praising the move.
And they call him the Anchorage Man. And you know why they call him the Anchorage Man? For our friend Jeffrey. Yes, Mr. Jeff from Tampa. So why don't we get into the Aaron Rodgers thing? And the Jets and everybody here in New York can't wait for the announcement that the New York Jets trade for Aaron Rodgers. They set the deal. Some people believe it could be a second and a fourth, maybe moved next year to a second-round pick, depending on how well the Jets play this year with Aaron Rodgers if he gets traded to the Jets. I don't know what the trade will entail, but we all know that the Jets are trying really, really, really hard in landing the star quarterback. Now, last year, he didn't have one of those seasons. There are some thoughts that Aaron Rodgers is starting to break down. And that's, the conversation that everybody has been speaking about over the last couple of years. And remember, about 2.5 years ago, he was an MVP back-to-back years. But everybody was waiting for that left shoe to fall for Aaron Rodgers. Maybe because of his age, being that he's 39 years old. 2 years ago, he was 37. He won an MVP. Aaron Rodgers threw 24 touchdowns last year. He led the NFC in touchdowns. Who did he throw to last year? What type of player or players did he throw to? Robert Tonyan? Christian Watson, a rookie who didn't even really break out until the end of the season? Lazar? Give me a break. They didn't have one wide receiver or tight end in the top 100 of the league last year. Christian Watson finally broke out in the last 6 games of the season. Now, do I think Christian Watson's going to be a player? No question. No question he proved that he is going to be a player for the future for the Green Bay Packers. But everybody's sitting here today and crying for Aaron Rodgers to go to the Jets. And I know there's a lot of Jet haters, a lot of Boston haters out there, the New England Patriots, even the Buffalo Bills fans don't want to see Aaron Rodgers come to the AFC East. There's a lot of reasons why. Aaron Rodgers automatically will be the 3rd best quarterback in the AFC. Automatically. You want to pick Joe Burrow? Pick Joe Burrow. You want to pick Patrick Mahomes? Pick Patrick Mahomes. There's not any other quarterback in the AFC that you can honestly take over Aaron Rodgers besides those 2 quarterbacks. Josh Allen's a great quarterback. Is he better than Aaron Rodgers when 100% healthy? No, he's not. Lamar Jackson, we don't even know if he's going to be on Baltimore this year. Is he better than Aaron Rodgers when Aaron Rodgers is 100% healthy? No, he's not. We all know what some of the young quarterbacks, even Russell Wilson, who's been an achieving quarterback over the years in the NFC, and now coming to the AFC, we haven't seen it yet. Yes, they have Sean Payton there. Yes, the divisions in the AFC are so much better than the NFC. Competition brings out the best in a player. Ask any superstar player that's played in any sport, any league. If Aaron Rodgers came to the AFC East, does that make Aaron Rodgers that much better? Is he going to play that much harder coming to the AFC East with the Jets, which, by the way, probably has the most talent he's ever played with in his whole career offensively? If you look at the teams that Aaron Rodgers played for, was Randall Cobb any good at any point of his career? Honestly, he wasn't. Jordy Nelson was great, fantastic for the 3 or 4 years that he was dominant in Green Bay. When he went to Oakland, was he good? He wasn't. Adams has been the only wide receiver leaving the Green Bay Packers that showed that he could still be an elite player. The Jets have an opportunity to bring in a star quarterback to help this team and these young players grow right in front of our eyes. Maybe take them to a Super Bowl for the first time since 1969. Since Joe Namath put a hex on the New York Jets, never to win another Super Bowl again. Maybe until the day he dies. Maybe his retirement of number 12 and taking it out of retirement and giving it to Aaron Rodgers might give the Jets a little bit of luck. I sit here today, and as a Jet fan, as a fan of the NFL, yes, I want to see Aaron Rodgers go to the Jets. Not just because I root on the Jets, because he is going to bring a superstar player to New York and help these young players, the Breece Halls, the Garrett Wilsons, the Elijah Moores, to be better players. Automatically gives the Jets the quarterback that they've been craving for such a long time. Mark Sanchez took the Jets to back-to-back AFC title games in the mid-2000s. He did. With Rex Ryan, that great defense. They knocked off the New England Patriots. They knocked off Peyton Manning, the Indianapolis Colts. They couldn't beat Pittsburgh. They couldn't get over the hump because of the quarterback play. They finally have, or finally will get, a quarterback that could step in and automatically, in almost every single one of the games that they play this year, will have an advantage for the first time in every single game behind the line of center. So yes, Jet fans are excited when you hear it. You hear, obviously, Stephen A. Smith saying that he hasn't been to a Jet game, a live Jet game, in over 10 years. But if Aaron Rodgers gets traded to the Jets, he will be there every Sunday at MetLife Stadium when Aaron Rodgers is playing for the New York Football Jets. Why can't you be excited? There are so many analysts here in New York that have their own shows. Greeny on ESPN, been a Jet fan his whole life, has been crying for a quarterback to take this team to a Super Bowl for many, many years. With all the talent that the Jets have had over the years, and I don't want to hear it, they've had talent. Defensively, they've had some of the best defenses we've seen in the AFC for the last 15 years. And because they had no offense, because they had no quarterback, they could never find a way to put the ball in the end zone. So your optimism for Joe Douglas making a move like this, absolutely puts the Jets in a position where you're going to be saying that they're a contender for the first time in years. You can't sit here and cry that Patrick Mahomes is that much better And the Kansas City Chiefs are that much better than Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. Should we be optimistic? I absolutely am optimistic. And I am optimistic that our friend Jeff will be eating doggy doo-doo after that happens. You know why? Because he was so sure of himself that Derek Carr and Aaron Rodgers have no chance of going to the New York Jets. Everybody praying that the Jets don't get their guy because it's always been the Jets' way. The Jets' way is they never get their guy. Never. And then finally, there's talks that they could finally get their guy in a trade and not have to give up a first-round draft pick. That is a big story here in New York. It's a big story all over the country. And does Aaron Rodgers want to be here? I don't know. But obviously, when there's reports throughout the country, through multiple analysts saying that this deal could almost be done, and that the Jets are starting to drop players like Braxton Berrios and make a move for Chuck Clark because they're probably getting rid of Whitehead's contract and moving contracts around because they want to bring Aaron Rodgers here. They want to sign Quentin Williams and maybe add a player or two from the Green Bay Packers that are free agents to give Aaron Rodgers some optimism to come here to New York. I think you should be excited, Speedy. I mean, there's nothing that you can complain about this right now. This is a good day. If the Jets could land Aaron Rodgers before March 15th, it's going to be a great weekend as a New York Jet fan.
There are also some beliefs, too, that the Jets might not even have to trade a second-round pick this year at this point. It's gotten so bad from the Packers standpoint that there's a lot of executives that believe it might only take a third-round pick this year and then maybe a second-round pick next year, or even just multiple third-round picks down the road in future drafts. And that's what Joe Douglas is going to prioritize, because the Packers waited so long at this point that they're continuing to lose value. There were reports on the combine from their GM and from their ownership that they love Jordan Love at this point. So that's going to downgrade the value even more, but they're definitely not getting a first round pick at this point. And even the reports that were coming out a couple days ago that they might even get a 2024 first round pick are not looking good now, because there's negotiations that the Jets don't want to pay all that salary. So if the Packers are going to take on salary, that'd probably be their only chance of getting a first round pick. And are they going to want to do that? So the Jets are really in the driver's seat now when it comes to these negotiations, where they're negotiating where they may only take on half the salary, or they may have to pay less draft picks in order to do that. So the Jets might even get to keep their first and their second round pick this year, which would give them more help on that offensive line and more help in the middle of that field of that defense, or wherever they want to go in the draft. And that's going to help Aaron Rodgers a lot. And it's going to want to keep Aaron Rodgers there for longer if he stays healthy. Obviously, he has to stay healthy. Now, the 2-year window is what we're expecting out of Aaron Rodgers. As we mentioned yesterday, the last 2 years are kind of just cat fodder at this point. But still, those 2 years with this roster, a lot of them on rookie contracts and a lot of them in key positions, the Jets are in a good position if they could do that without having a first or second round pick this year. Would be incredible.
There are stories coming out that the Jets reached out to Las Vegas on possibly making a move for Adams. Now, I don't know how true this is, but this could actually possibly happen. Now, I don't think Adams coming to the Jets makes sense. It doesn't. But maybe a deal with bringing Aaron Rodgers here, maybe that was one of the possible moves that Aaron Rodgers wants to come to New York. Now, I don't know how long Aaron wants to play. There are stories coming out from his camp that he wants to play at least another 2 years, maybe even 3. It made a lot of sense why the Jets didn't go after Derek Carr. Derek Carr was going to sign a 4 or 5 year deal. He also wanted to know what Zach Wilson's future with the Jets was going to be. And everything that we've heard Joe Douglas say is that he believes that Zach Wilson will be the future for the New York Jets, just not now. Aaron Rodgers coming here, what is it, 2 years? 2 years, and then Zach Wilson will be going into his 5th year. The Jets give him his 5th year option, and they see what he has. If he's a failure, they move on. If they win a Super Bowl and he fails, Nobody's going to speak about the draft pick and the second pick in the first round that the Jets wasted on Zach Wilson. No, because they finally win a Super Bowl or go to a Super Bowl for the first time in 52, 53 years.
And that's the incentive you want to do in today's league. If you don't have the elite of the elite young quarterback, you have to be able to get a good veteran quarterback, or in this case, Aaron Rodgers, a great veteran quarterback, with a lot of other players on rookie contracts. So you always want the quarterback on the rookie contracts as the first idea. That's the model of teams building now. But we've also seen teams do the opposite, like the Buccaneers and the Rams that have won Super Bowls recently. Why can't the Jets do that same kind of thing, especially with a lot of homegrown talent and a lot of that talent, key positions, wide receivers, corners. They have a defensive line. They have a lot of depth in that. And even if they do pay Quinn Williams a lot, they still have a lot of good depth, even losing some. So the Jets have a lot of key positions filled where everything like you were saying, trading for Chuck Clark, they could just do in trades, small scale trades. They only give up a 7th round pick next year for that. And they could fill linebacker and interior offensive line that way. And if these other young receivers, Mims and Moore, still don't work out, maybe they trade for another receiver at the deadline, but they cut Barrios to shed $5 million. And that's a good start. And they have enough ability and flexibility to get those positions filled with veteran players.
And you sit here right now, and if the Jets didn't get Aaron Rodgers, the third guy, the optional guy is Jimmy Garoppolo. There are many teams interested in Jimmy Garoppolo, but does he fit the New York Jets if the Jets strike out on Aaron Rodgers? The answer would be no. The answer would absolutely be no. Now, we all knew that going into this offseason, there was going to be a quarterback carousel with all these veteran quarterbacks that were going to be available this offseason. Lamar Jackson is actually available now. Teams could start negotiating with Lamar Jackson. All they have to do is give up 2 first-round draft picks and give him guaranteed money. And we will get into Lamar Jackson and the collusion and craziness that's going on with the NFL really hurting the opportunity for Lamar Jackson to get what he wants this offseason as not a free agent, but almost a free agent, because, with them franchising him, they're just not giving him any options here, except if a team wants to give up 2 first-round draft picks. And I do believe they could have gotten more than 2 first-round draft picks. And that's why I think the Ravens struck out on this move. They struck out. Because even if another team negotiates with Lamar Jackson and offers 2 first-round draft picks, guess what? Baltimore can match it. They can match it. This whole thing, this dragging along because everybody thinks that Baltimore doesn't think that Lamar can get what he wants. Let me tell you something. Deshaun Watson received guaranteed money from the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson, I believe, was, before he got hurt, before he missed 2 years, Deshaun Watson was a top 5 quarterback in the league. I would argue he was the best quarterback in the league. But 2 years away from the sport, and he got $230 million guaranteed. Kyler Murray, who I loved him last year the year before last year, because now we're going into the new year. Kyler Murray got his money, guaranteed money. So did the coach. He's gone. Kingsbury is now hanging out in Japan or Korea, or wherever the hell he is.
One-way ticket to Thailand.
And Kyler Murray's not even going to start this season as the starting quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals, because he's going to be sitting on the sidelines because of an ACL tear.
Not only that, he allegedly doesn't like his new coach either, so that doesn't help to even Bo to come back at all.
How could you sit here today and not feel bad for Lamar Jackson? You have to feel bad for Lamar Jackson. And you're hearing that there is collusion, and I'll read this right here. Several NFL players, okay? I'm going to read this right now. I'm pulling it up. I'm pulling it right up right here. Many NFL analysts and former players believe there is collusion against Lamar Jackson. Several teams, including the Falcons, Panthers, Dolphins, and Commanders, have reported they are out on trading for Lamar Jackson. Raiders still remain interested. Not surprised. They're not getting him, but still aren't thinking of him as a main priority. And the Jets are still thought of as an option, but now that they're in with Aaron Rodgers and he doesn't seem like he's retiring, according to Sports Illustrated and Albert Breer, it means they're out of the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes. Former NFL player such as Robert Griffin III and J.J. Watt have suggested collusion, and some current players such as the Honey Badger and Diggs have thought the same way. Adam Schefter said in regards to the situation with Lamar Jackson, I think part of I think part of it is the fact that teams know they feel like that they would just be drawing the offer sheet for the Baltimore Ravens. So if any of these teams steps forward and says, let's give Lamar Jackson you make it up a 4-year deal, $200 million contract, fully guaranteed, well, Baltimore could obviously chance and write it off. I sit here today, Baltimore has been sitting on this for the last 2 years. And they're not going to sit here and let Lamar Jackson tell them how it is. Lamar Jackson is his own agent. Lamar Jackson's his own boss. On Trey Wingo from ESPN tweeted, spoke with sources on the NFLPA, and they're keeping a very close eye on Lamar's situation for that very reason. Reasoning for the alleged collusion includes whether teams don't want to trade 2 first-round picks or give Lamar Jackson $200 million guaranteed money, or 100% of his money being guaranteed, like the Browns did for Deshaun Watson, new contract last season. This is a man that won an MVP, ladies and gentlemen. This is a man that has been an elite quarterback since he came out of college. Louisville was the 30th pick in the first round or 31st pick in the first round by Baltimore. He was the last pick with that whole quarterback carousel that year with Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Josh Rosen. Honestly, and I'm not saying this, and I'll take back what I said, Lamar Jackson's been the best quarterback in that class, even better than Josh Allen. Josh Allen never won anything. Josh Allen never won an MVP. This man, including yours truly, who didn't believe a running quarterback was ever going to win an MVP of the stature of Lamar Jackson, proved me wrong. Almost won 2 MVPs. Do I think Lamar Jackson deserves the money? Absolutely. Just as much as I think Deshaun Watson deserved the money. Do I think they're prima donnas? Yes, I do. Do I think that a lot of NFL players are prima donnas and shouldn't be making this money? Absolutely. But if it's on the table and he plays the quarterback position, he absolutely deserves what he believes he's worth. It is wrong what the NFL is doing to this kid. It is wrong that this kid still doesn't have an offer. He is better than Kyler Murray. Right now, he's better than Deshaun Watson. He's better than Josh Allen, who just got a $200 million contract. How many quarterbacks, honestly, in the league right now, would you take over Lamar Jackson? And the Baltimore Ravens are just tossing him to the side. Who cares? We'll find somebody else. We'll start Huntley next year, who, by the way, made the Pro Bowl.
Jeff's Pro Bowl legend.
This is horrible what the NFL is doing to this kid. And what Baltimore has just practically dragged him in the mud. His name. Who he is as a player. He should be respected just as much as Patrick Mahomes has been. Joe Burrow, who's going to get a $400 million contract. Joe Burrow. What did Joe Burrow win? Has he been an MVP of the league? What, he went to a Super Bowl one year? He's better than Lamar Jackson? I'm sorry, guys. There are half these quarterbacks that everybody keeps saying they're elite. They're top 5 guys. Most of them didn't win. But they're all putting him over Lamar Jackson. Justin Herbert's going to make $350, $400 million. Why can't Lamar Jackson make that money? The league has changed. Quarterback position has changed. Every 10 years, the transition of the game has changed. The rules change. The fact that this man doesn't get the respect is disgusting. And the NFL needs to figure this out. And the Baltimore Ravens better think this over. Because if they do trade him, which they probably will, it's going to be very, very hard for them to find the future quarterback of this organization. Ask the Jets. Ask the Lions. Ask half these teams in the NFL that have been trying to find a franchise quarterback that haven't found them. How many teams have not won the Super Bowl?
12.
12 teams. How many of those 12 teams have had a franchise quarterback in the last 30 years?
Probably half.
You're telling me half of those teams have never had a franchise quarterback and never even come close to winning a Super Bowl.
Including a lot of the teams that were listed as saying no. We'll talk to Clay about the Miami Dolphins. They certainly are looking for that.
Do we have Clay on the line?
Yes, we do.
Why don't we go to a quick break? When we come back, we'll be talking to WPLG Miami sports anchor and reporter Clay Ferraro here on the Sports Loudmouths.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Uh-huh, okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You are listening to the Sports Loudmouths. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy PD. Remember, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows, our listings, and listen to the Sports Loudmouths, which air every single Wednesdays at 7 p.m. and Thursdays at 9 p.m. as we are live and in color all over the social media market and all different platforms. So check us out throughout the week from all our shows, our Buffalo Bills show, our Jets show, our betting show. We have a tremendous amount of talented, I guess you could say, analysts. And by the way, great writers as well. So check us out on our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. And ladies and gentlemen, our first guest, this is the third time we've had him on, right? Mm-hmm. And we love him, and we're happy to have him on. We are now talking to WPLG Miami sports anchor and reporter Clay Ferraro. Clay, what's up, man?
What's going on, gentlemen? How are we doing tonight?
Well, you sound pretty happy. I mean, Miami looked pretty good this year, did what they did and kind of fell apart at the end of the season. But we will get into that in just a few moments. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I, I have actually taken over coaching all three of my girls' basketball teams. So I am now a part-time sports anchor and a full-time basketball coach in my mind. Like I sit there, I'm coming up with the draft board now for tomorrow night's draft. It's really like I make it a lot more important in my brain than I think it actually is.
We know the advanced data on that.
You have 3 girls? 3 girls, man? Wow.
Yeah. It's we're busy around here, but they're all really good girls, and I love them because they, early on you could tell they're just not, they're not going to be the best scorers in the world. A lot of them are playing with older kids, and so they've actually listened to their dad that they need to learn to play defense, and they've bought in. So I'm very proud of them. Now, if the other kids on the team would actually listen to me, then maybe we'd actually have something.
Ages of the girls?
9, 7, and 6.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah. 9-year-old is on her school basketball team, and I have already taught her how to. She's playing in a co-ed league in the league that I'm coaching. I've already taught her how to cut off kids from going to their right, and so she's already managing to cut her niche as a defensive stopper. So I'm really proud of her.
So why don't we get into some football? We'll talk a little baseball as well as the Miami Marlins are going into a new season. So interesting, sports over there in Miami. It's nice and hot right now. I heard it's like in the 80s over there. It's beautiful. So, but let's get into Tua. What is going on right now with Tua? Is he going to be ready for the season? Do they look for a free agent quarterback, or maybe bring a quarterback out of retirement? What are your thoughts to that?
So Tua's off learning jujitsu to learn how to fall. So that's what we've kind of learned over the past for real. He's actually he's taking this seriously. He's getting into it to try to learn, I guess, better how to protect himself, and specifically to protect his head. And somebody said something interesting, and I don't know if there's validity to this or not, but it kind of made sense in my brain, which is that maybe the hip injury at times, that he's trying to protect the hip when he falls, and so like by doing that he kind of falls with his upper body, and he's ended up landing on his head a few times. And whatever it is, I give him credit because he's turning over every leaf to try to figure out a way to fix it, and the team believes in him. And look, I think the things that we've seen from him, and I heard you in the last segment talking about the importance of a franchise quarterback. I think he's shown, and I think they believe, that when healthy, he can be a franchise quarterback and would be a franchise quarterback if he could stay healthy. And I'm saying that over and over again because I think that is job number one, which is figuring out a way to protect himself. And so to your second question about will he be ready for the start of the season? Yes, 100%, absolutely. I think he'd be able to play if they had to play a game tomorrow. And the thing that I think there's a misconception out there, what they have said, and we actually, our executive producer's father is actually literally a brain surgeon, so we've kind of picked his brain on this a little bit. And what he has said, which I think kind of flies in the face of a lot of common thinking, is if you've had one concussion, it's not that you're more prone to getting another one. Now, what I think there are two major concerns. Number one, if you have multiple concussions within a short period of time, which Tua did, that's when the concerns start to creep in quite a bit. And then the other question, I think, is the long term. If you have another concussion within a year, is there more long term impact on that? And I think that would be the major concern. So I don't think it's that he's more prone to having another concussion. It's that what would the long term effects of it be if he does suffer another one? So I think all that to say, week one, he's going to be the starting quarterback for this team. I think they're going to work really hard to try to make sure that he stays on the field. And I know the Tom Brady question is out there, so let's get to it. The thing that I had heard the other day, which I think is interesting, is the idea that, okay, let's say that the Dolphins bring him in some sort of an ownership capacity, that there's some sort of an extra role there, and he's standing up there in Stephen Ross's ownership box, and they just happen to be watching a game in which Tua Tagovailoa does get hurt. What do you think's going to happen? I mean, if Tom Brady is just sitting up there in the ownership box, do you really think they're going to turn to Skylar Thompson and that's going to be that? Or do you think Brady's going to get the edge? And so I think that's where a lot of this is coming from. It's not just, hey, they go out and they would sign him and ultimately bring him in and push Tua to the side, but if Brady is somehow involved in the organization in some capacity, it just feels like such a no-brainer that would be the direction that they would turn if something were to happen with Tua.
So being that they don't have any first round picks, obviously, it seems like the Lamar Jackson thing is definitely out, at least for this year. But let's say they decline Tua's fifth-year option. Could you see Lamar Jackson as an option for Miami down the road? Because he has hinted at wanting to go there in the past.
Well, like certainly, look, if I don't think any option would be off the table if something along those lines happened. Like if they decided ultimately to move on from Tua Tagovailoa, I think the one thing that we've seen from Stephen Ross, and this is why the Tom Brady conversation keeps happening, is he desperately wants to get that franchise quarterback. And again, I think everybody is kind of in alignment right now within the organization that when healthy, Tua is the guy, but. A guy is the guy until he's not. And so if something does indeed end up happening where they decide to move on, yeah, I think that would clearly be a potential option. I think, I don't know that we'd have to see where things stand at that point. I don't think this team is going to go like the route of bottoming out again, like they did a couple of years ago. So yeah, Lamar Jackson would be an ideal option for that if he does end up playing under the franchise tag this season. Or the other thing I'd heard too was that because of the way the franchise stuff works, they could potentially, if this drags on until after the draft, then they could sign him to an offer sheet if no deal had been reached between Lamar Jackson and another team or Lamar Jackson and the Ravens at that point. Because then, like, you have to have a first-round pick in the next draft in order to execute the franchise. Well, you don't have a first-round pick in this draft, but they would in the following draft. And so I think that's when they would be able to kind of pivot and take a look at that.
We are talking to WPLG's Miami sports anchor and reporter and coach, Clay Ferraro. Clay, I mean,
in my own brain.
There
yes.
you go. Hey, you're a coach. Why not? To your daughters and to other girls. And you have a chance to be a great one, let me tell you.
Let's try.
Mike McDaniel at the end of the season was taking a lot of hits. He really was. He had a really good season. He showed that he could be a head coach in this league. Everybody was calling him a Smurf, and he could, he had to stand on a stool to get to the mic, whatever it is. But Mike McDaniel showed in different parts of this season that he can coach. But at the end of the season, there were talks that maybe he gets fired this offseason. Maybe they bring in a Jim Harbaugh because obviously we know the owner likes to bring in big names. What were your thoughts at the end of the season? Really, Miami falling apart at the end of the season. Maybe because Tua's injury. Maybe because, the team just wasn't playing up to par that they were in the beginning of the season. Defensively, they kind of fell apart at the end of the season. What were your thoughts to Mike McDaniel at the end of the season for a full season of thought as an analyst over there in Miami?
So well, first off, I'm with you. I thought he showed that he can be a really, really good head coach. And yet, I do think there were some moments where he showed some growing pains. And I think the one that stands out the most at the end of the year was, hey, he had never called plays in San Francisco. When he was with Kyle Shanahan is the one calling plays. And I think the big thing, if you could see one thing with the offense that became a problem, and we saw it in the playoff game, was the inability to get plays in quickly. And I think that's something that he's going to have to learn from moving forward. And I think he will. But I think on the whole, he did a good enough job to where, man, you can't just like say, all right, hey, at the end of the season, you couldn't get the plays in time. We're going to let you go. Like, that's something that I think you can, after having a year where you're like, oh man, I gotta come up with a better system of doing it. Like, I think that's something that is fixable, and it's easier to fix something like that than it would be to hit the reset button and go out and try to find a whole a new head coach and bring in a whole new coaching staff. So I thought he showed enough as far as the CEO of the organization to where absolutely, like, it was never a question in my mind. Now, with that said, you're right. Whenever there is a big name out there, the Dolphins are always linked to them. Stephen Ross likes the organization to be linked to them, whether it's a player or a coach. We had that awkward press conference years and years ago when Harbaugh was available but wasn't available, and they went after him, and they had to like bring Tony Sparano up in an awkward press conference where they gave him a contract extension a day after they were pursuing Harbaugh. Like, it was just this really bizarre scene. And yet I don't think this ever got anywhere near that point with Mike McDaniel. I think everybody in the organization believes in him. I think there's, the thing that I think you heard with Brian Flores and Chris Greer was that there was, some working discomfort, that they just didn't mesh, didn't necessarily see eye to eye. Like, I don't feel that at all here. I feel like there's, they work really well together. And I think that Mike McDaniel, the one thing that I think has been extremely impressive with him is he knows his blind spots. He knows who he is. He's comfortable in his own skin. Like you mentioned the thing about being a Smurf. Like one of my favorite things before he got here was he gave his first press conference as the offensive coordinator in San Francisco year before last, and he stands up and the first thing he says is, "Oh, I'm sure you guys are so scared. I'm such an imposing figure," and like he disarms you, and so I think that kind of carries over in that he's able to, when there is tension, he's able to cut it. And when there is a need for tension, he has shown the ability to deliver that. I think we saw that with the defensive coordinator, Josh Boyer, who was let go. There were times where you saw him yelling at Josh Boyer, just like, man, like that can't happen. So I think what he's shown is, yeah, he can be the nice guy. He can also be the hard what when necessary. And so I've been impressed with him. There are some things he needs to fix, the play calling and getting him in quicker, I think, being at the top of that list. And I'm sure there's plenty of other things, but I don't think there was ever a realistic chance that they would move on from him.
So a move I really liked is defensive coordinator bringing in Vic Fangio. I always thought was one of the best with the 49ers, and then with Chicago too, had the best defense in the league in 2018. So what is your thoughts on them hiring him, and how do you think this defense will fit his scheme, what he likes to do?
Well, so I love it. And the thing that I am really eager to see, and this kind of goes along with your last question, as far as, what are some of the things that Mike McDaniel needs to improve on and what this team needs to improve on. They were far too reliant in 2022 on the big play offensively. And, I think, hey, when you pop one, it looks so pretty and it's a great highlight for us. And Tyreek Hill is so fast and this team is so explosive and it's so cool. And yet the defense has been on the sideline for 3 minutes by the time they have to go back out there on the field. And so what I'm really eager to see is if the Dolphins kind of do a little bit of what the Bengals did this past year. There was a great article in The Ringer on how the Bengals basically stopped relying on the big plays so much. And they basically said, for the health and the sake of Joe Burrow, and also for the health and the sake of our defense and keeping them from being exhausted, we need to do a little more ball control stuff. We need to be a little bit more balanced, not necessarily just running the football, but you don't have to pop a big play every time, whether it's a screen pass, whatever. Find a way to work in more of the plays to get you into manageable down and distance, because this team too many times last year, it was either home run or strikeout. It was either 70-yard touchdown or they're in 3rd and 9 and throwing an incomplete pass or an interception. And I think, and to bring it back to Vic Fangio, I think there has to be a conversation and Vic Fangio saying, look, we can't be at our best defensively if we're on the field 32 minutes a game, 34 minutes a game. Because I think that's what it was last year. Whatever it was, I think the Dolphins had the worst time of possession in the NFL. And that's something that, you can have a lot of talent on defense, right? And yet if they're out there over and over again, not only are they getting tired potentially, but it's the more plays you're out there, the more opportunities to blow a coverage, miss a tackle, and allow a big game changing play behind you. So I thought it was great, not just from a schematic standpoint, an experience standpoint, but having somebody who is a voice in the room that can say, hey, what you're doing is great. It's killing me as a defensive coordinator. It's killing us as a defense. Like, we need to have a little bit more rest, more chance to go over stuff. So, that's the macro. The micro, man, I'm really excited to see Javon Holland working with him. I think Javon Holland is just outstanding, the safety from Oregon. I think he's taken leaps. And now you work him, you let him work with Vic Fangio. I think you're going to see great things. Kader Kohu started to emerge a bit towards the end of last year as a reliable cornerback. And yet, now that Byron Jones has officially been released, they got to go out and get somebody else too. There's a lack of depth there. I could see him maybe going and getting a safety like Jordan Poyer too. I mean, we know how much Vic Fangio relies on those safeties, so maybe you have him back there with Javon. Like there are any number of things that they can do in the secondary, and then your guys up front, man. I love what Christian Wilkins did this past year. Zach Sealer took a big step. Jalen Phillips by the end of the year was, I think he was one of the top 3 or 4 rated guys on Pro Football Focus among edge guys by the end of the season, like beyond a certain point, like second half of the year, whatever it is. So there's talent there. And yet I do think there needs to be a little bit more talent added, specifically at the cornerback spot. And I also think that everybody needs to get on the same page as far as how they can play complementary football and how the offense can help out the defense.
We are talking to WPLG Miami sports anchor and reporter Clay Ferraro. The AFC is going to be a powerhouse this year if Aaron Rodgers, one way or another, gets traded to the New York Jets. And you look at Miami, you look at Buffalo, you look at New England, all 3 teams are going to then have to chase the Jets if they add Aaron Rodgers, because the Jets have the young talent. Now they have the quarterback to fill in the weakness of this team for about 50 years. Play GM right now for the Miami Dolphins. If you were the GM for the Miami Dolphins, what could help Miami get over the hump and possibly win the AFC East this coming year?
Cornerback, running back, tight end.
Give me the players that you would in free agency that you would land and you would bring in.
So that's interesting as far as free agency goes. I mean, I'd have to look at the list as far as like a lot of
Speedy,
these
bring it
guys
up.
go. But here's the thing. Like, so I'm not a big believer unless there's like a, I saw a mention connected to Derrick Henry via trade, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much of a scheme fit that is. And look, I know Derrick Henry's great. But to me, I don't know. I would have to know from Mike McDaniel's perspective, because that's a different sort of offense that the Kyle Shanahan tree runs. So would it work? It might, but how much would it cost you too? Those are the things that I'm wondering. It's such a ridiculously deep draft for tight end. This is not an exaggeration, maybe the best tight end draft
I
ever.
agree with you.
So to me, it's like, do you really go out and spend any sort of money on that position when you can wait until maybe even day 3 and get a guy who could come in and make a difference for you? Because I think, and let me be clear on this. The thing with the Dolphins and what they need at that position is they, I think a lot of the guys that are rated highly among tight ends, and not necessarily in this draft, but just in general, it's, hey, everybody wants the new, like Antonio Gates, the prototype, the Jimmy Graham, the Travis Kelce, although Kelsey's probably a little bit better blocker than those guys are. But like, they need a guy who is just like above average to good at everything. And, the ideal guy is who Mike McDaniel had in San Francisco is George Kittle. Well, you're not going to go out there and get George Kittle, but what he did, which Mike Gesicki could not do, is he could block. And so they don't need the guy who's going to climb the charts because he's like the chess piece, and you line him up at tight end. He's a big body, but he's also super athletic, and he goes up and he gets it. He jumps 8 feet in the air. Like, that's not what they need. Somebody who can come in and be solid to above average to good in everything. And I think in this draft, you can do really well with that. So to me, it's like those are 3 positions. The corner may be one where you may have to look a little bit harder in free agency.
James Bradbury? How about James Bradbury?
I'd like it. I'd have to see how much money he would command. It's funny. I follow the Saints closely, and I have learned by following them that, man, the salary cap, just like, if you have an owner who's willing to write a check for bonuses, it don't exist. Like, you can constantly use other salaries, other contracts as a credit card. So if Bradbury is the guy, I can tell you this: if Vic Fangio went to them and said, I need James Bradbury, that puts us in the Super Bowl next year, they're going to go out and they're going to get James Bradbury. They're going to find a way to make it happen. But yes, those are the 3 positions, and whoever they decide fits that scheme, both defensively and offensively, better at those positions. Those are the holes to me, and you can always beef up the offensive line. I think they can be better there. But I think those are the positions that I can look at right now, and I can say you can immediately upgrade those spots, and I can see how you can be better and legitimately make a push next season.
So my last question, we haven't talked to you much about some college basketball. Miami University heading to March Madness. What are your expectations for them?
I mean, I've been saying for 5 weeks now, I think they're going to the Final Four. The thing that is killing me with them, and by the way, I'm not a homer. I'm a Virginia Tech.
No, I like them too. I think they could as well.
The thing that's driving me nuts with them over the last couple of weeks is they do this thing where they get out to a big lead and then they kind of let teams back into it. It bit them in the rear end against Florida State a couple weekends ago. They barely held on to beat Pitt. They barely held on to beat Wake Forest today. Like, it's becoming a thing with them. And unfortunately, like, it's almost like it's going to have to bite them in the ACC tournament to wake them up, so it doesn't happen in the NCAA tournament. So we'll see what happens over the next couple of games. But that's the only thing with them that has seemed to be like, I don't think this team has a weakness as far as the roster, as far as the lineup. Like, Norchad Omier has turned into a monster, and I don't think they saw that coming. And they already have the really good guard play. Jordan Miller's really good. Isaiah Wong's your ACC player. Like, there is not a weakness on this team except whatever this thing is that they've started to let teams get back into the game late in games. So, I think extremely highly of this team. It's the best Miami Hurricanes team I've seen since I've been here in a decade, and this team went to the Elite Eight last year. So I think really highly of them, but man, they can't mess around, because you mess around, you find out. They found out against Florida State, and if they mess around again in the NCAA tournament and they find out again, they'll be home a lot quicker than anybody wants.
Before we let you go, I have 2 questions, and they're baseball questions. What do you think about the World Baseball Classic? United States, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Japan. This is going to be a fun one. A lot of great players are actually playing. Mike Trout is healthy. He's 100%. So the American team could be a pretty good, dangerous offensive team. I worry about their pitching staff. And the Marlins this year, where do you see the Marlins? They're in a very tough division. The Braves, the Philadelphia Phillies are much better than they were last year, going to the World Series, adding Trey Turner, and then obviously the New York Mets. Where do you see the Marlins this year? Young team and very talented and pretty good farm system going into the new season.
So let's start with the first one, because I think it leads into the second one. The World Baseball Classic, man, there's a reason why they picked Miami for it. This place goes nuts for it. It is so cool to watch. The atmosphere, man, it's like, I don't even know what to compare it to. Maybe a big soccer game, maybe like an intense college football rivalry game. Like, it is the atmosphere is crazy and fun, and like, so I'm excited about it. I agree with you. I think the pitching is going to be a question for Team USA. But I'm just looking forward to being in the middle of it down here. It's just like, it's a blast. And with that said, I hope that they're able to put a consistent winner together with the Marlins, because this area, I know what the attendance numbers are, man. I'm at the games where you can hear the guys, and you can hear the husband and wife having a conversation in the third row if you're up in the like, I've seen it, man. It's bad. But when this area has a team that they believe in, like, there will be baseball fans out there. Like, they will go crazy, and I am firmly convinced of that. So I hope. I don't think, frankly, they've spent enough money. I don't frankly think they've got enough talent, in particular in the lineup, to compete with like the money that the Mets have spent. I think the Phillies can be a problem, obviously. I think there's a lot of the Braves and what they've done. Like, it's such a gauntlet in the National League East. And I don't know if they're there. They're trying. I mean, I want to see how the Jazz Chisholm move to center field works. I love that they've got a face of the franchise now with him, and a guy who's a lot of fun, and a guy that I think, as great as Giancarlo Stanton played, he wasn't the draw that Jose Fernandez was. Jazz Chisholm, I think, has the potential to get back to being that sort of draw where, like, whenever Jose pitched, it was Jose Day. Everybody had to go watch. And that's the other thing. Sandy Alcantara, outstanding. I mean, he's unbelievable. And yet, there's a bit of Mariano Rivera where he just kind of goes out there and does his job and dominates. And, it's not like Jose was, where it's like this powerhouse, must see TV sort of thing. And that's who Jazz Chisholm is. Jazz Chisholm he brings this flair that's like so fun to watch. And yet I don't I don't know if it's going to matter if they don't win. And so I want to see him adjust to center field before I'm able to get excited about the proposition. And I also need to see how some of these other moves work out. They believe that if they had been healthy last year, they would have been a lot better team. I'm not sure I'm ready to go there yet. And I don't know that I like the Arise move. And again, I still don't know if they have enough when it comes to bats in that lineup. And especially when you got a division like the National League East, it's just going to be so tough.
Well, Coach, we will talk to you soon. Keep up the good work. Tell your girls to keep working hard. Daddy's going to win you a championship. How's that sound?
I will lie to their faces. Bet I can do that well.
Well,
take care, fellas.
You're a girl's dad, so I give you a lot of respect, and he was fantastic.
Yes.
He really was, and I know he's getting ready. He had to rush off.
Yeah,
he's
he's
getting
got a
ready.
sportscast.
But tell him thank you very much. We were just talking to WPLG Miami sports anchor and reporter Clay Ferraro. He was fantastic, as always, coming on the show. And when we come back for the first time on the Loudmouths, we will be talking to former Rockies, Pirates, and Cardinals catcher and current AT&T Sportsnet MLB analyst Michael McHenry here on the Sports Loudmouths.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631-672-3108 is the number. You are listening to the Sports Loudmouths. I'm your host, Daryl Marks, my co-host, Speeder. Yes, it's Speedy Petey, as always, producer, co-host. Craziness, needs to comb his hair and get a shave over there. He did fix his mustache. It is a very unique mustache, ladies and gentlemen. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week. They are live. You can interact with all our talent. You can call the shows. You can call us asses, as a lot of people call us asses, including yours truly. Check out all our stories, our writers, and everything. Just go to the website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Thank you to Clay Ferraro, as always. And now, a new guest. We have never had him on the show. Former Rockies, Pirates, and Cardinals catcher and current AT&T Sportsnet MLB analyst, Michael McHenry. Clap, Speedy, clap. Michael, what's up, man?
What's up, guys? Hey, that hype, man, you got it down pat, man. You know, when you went to break, I'm listening. I'm like, man, it's like we're meant to do this together. Just hyping me up, ready to go. I loved it. Yeah, awesome stuff. Like I was getting fired up. I was ready to like jump out of the seat and go. Good stuff.
Well, you know what it is. I'm not, 50,000 people applauding you when you come up to the plates, but I am the crazy one that'll probably be behind the plate, in the audience, probably saying crazy stuff to you when you're up to bat. So I am one of those guys, but I respect everything about you and your career, playing the years that you played in the MLB. But before we get into that, how are you feeling? There's so much going on in the world. COVID-19 really ruined things for people and baseball and in professional sports. How are you and your family doing?
We're good. We're good. We had a rough time during that stretch. We lost, I think, a handful of people, none of them to COVID, but the isolation, everything else obviously didn't help. So yeah, it was a very weird time, and I'm not really sure what to make of all of it. It's just a really tough situation. But I always say the worst things that happen in life, if you use it properly, you can learn from it and really spring into something way better, because those shortcomings, everything else, give you an opportunity to really grow. Everybody says learn from failure. I really believe you don't even have to fail. You can just watch and see and just say, hey, how can I react better? How can I do better? And what could I personally take ownership of and make better? And that's, what I think a lot of people learned. And then I think a lot of people, kind of sit and forget after a while, this oh, was that 3 years ago? Oh my gosh. I mean, that was just like a little bug. Yeah, that was no big deal. I'm like, well, what reality are you from? Everything shut down. Name another time it happened, right? It was wild. People lost jobs. Just was unprecedented. We're literally in the first spring training in the last 3 years, a full-fledged spring training. So I'm just happy, life seems a little bit normal. It's never going to be all normal.
It looks normal for you right now. That chair, I mean, you look comfortable. I need one of those chairs, Speedy. You got to get me one of those chairs for my birthday, man. He's looking good, man. I mean, I should be leaning back and enjoying myself as well when I'm interviewing people and just talking sports and making everybody hate me around the country, as everybody has sent me some interesting fan mail over the last couple of weeks telling me I'm out of my damn mind. But you want to know something? That's why I'm here, and that's why I entertain people. But as everybody knows, we are talking to former Rockies, Pirates, Cardinals catcher, and current AT&T Sportsnet MLB analyst, Michael McHenry. So, Michael, why don't we get into it? A little bit about your career. What was it like playing all those years in the MLB? You played for multiple teams, playing the way you did, and just the fact that you stepped on a major league field, 162 games in your career, every single year for a significant amount of time, that says a lot about you as an athlete and as a player. What was it like being a professional baseball player?
I mean, I dreamed of it when I was a little kid. I got a glove from who I thought was my grandfather at the time, and he looked at me and said, "You're going to play in the major leagues." And looking back, that was one of the first men that ever believed in me. And, I had a long stretch from there on out that a lot of people didn't believe in me. They told me what I couldn't do, what I, was never going to be capable of. And I just never believed it. When I was 5 years old, I thought I was going to make it. It never changed, no matter what happened, surgeries, hardships. It didn't matter. I was going to run through a brick wall and make it some way, shape, or form. And then I married the girl of my dreams, and she just got right on board and said, yeah, absolutely. And she became my psychologist, my traveling secretary, and everything else, and my wife. So it was one of those blessings that just keeps on giving. But yeah, when you actually get there, it's almost like it's surreal. I mean, because baseball is that long journey. You get drafted and you're not going straight to the big leagues. Now it's a little bit different. Things are a lot faster. Guys are able to develop at just a crazy speed at the youth level now because of all the information. So yeah, you're seeing younger guys up and they're letting the best players play in the big leagues for once. That's not always the case. So the reality of getting there, it's just like, man, I made it. But what I did wrong is I didn't enjoy it as much as I should have. I didn't embrace it as much as I should have. I've seen some guys do that, and it's most of the guys that played 10 years, 11 years, and they're reflecting on their entire career. I fought, for parts of 7.5 and 8, and that's, what most guys have to do, right? There's less than 24,000 guys that have walked on a baseball field and played in a major league uniform. To put that in perspective, it's like getting hit by lightning in your life. I looked it up one day because somebody said, what would it take to, get to the major leagues? I was like, let's map it out, but let's first see how hard it really is. And I was like, maybe I'm brain surgeon. Nope. There's 46,000 brain surgeons in the United States right now. So it's those things that I think would have catapulted me to realize, man, I am really good at this game. And when I got there, I went from being a starter in the minor leagues my entire life. And like, oh yeah, you're the other catcher, you're the backup, you're going to pinch hit, you're going to do all these things you've never done before. You didn't even know existed because you never thought about it. You just went out there and played. And that was tough. I mean, that was a huge learning curve. And luckily we were winning in Pittsburgh when I got traded there. But yeah, it was a awesome ride. I really, really am thankful for every nook and cranny that I got to experience, the designations, the 5 knee surgeries, the weird stuff off the field, the business stuff that never makes sense, the weird conversations with GMs. I just look back and reflect on all of it. And it's just really, really special. And some of the worst moments have really done some great things in my life. The only reason I'm on TV is because when I got hurt, I was good enough with the media that they asked if I'd want to come in on my crutches and do the post game. One game, I ended up doing 10. So when they went to hire, when Teak retired, who was the guy I replaced, I was the first in line and I was on the bubble if I wanted to play. So like sometimes those dark moments can really resonate some cool light. And it did. And that's a fear. This whole thing's a fear of mine. I still get nervous to talk in front of people because as a kid, I got made fun of. You know, I would stutter, had learning disability. So it's like I got to accomplish two things that nobody thought I would accomplish. So I just try to keep telling people and tell myself, like, why not?
It seems to be a modern trend too. When Joey Votto got hurt last year, he started broadcasting the Reds color commentary all second half last year. So
Dude, he's a beauty, isn't he?
Yeah.
I feel like you should be friends with him. I don't know you that well, but that hair seems like you'd be right in that Canadian Joey Votto. I think we got to make sure you guys meet.
Well, apparently now he thinks there's going to be aliens involved in baseball. So
that was such a good answer, right? Because you know that guy asked that question 500 times, and he's like, He's over there. He's just listening. He's like, I got something good for this. It's so good, man. And the media loves him. I don't know if you guys heard him much last year when he did the broadcast. I mean, he's literally talking about how the grass reflects the sunlight back into you as you see the ball coming across the plate. I'm like, man, I love this guy. I just want to get on first base and talk to him again. I feel like I played good against Cincinnati just to get to see Votto. Numbers maybe because I just get a base hit. Don't do any more. Just get a base hit. I want to see Votto.
So speaking of crazy, well, Errol noticed the chair in the background. I noticed that pie celebration photo on the top. So go through that moment. How did you get that pie in your face celebration?
Kid you not, first homer in the major leagues. Okay. I got a standing ovation, 38,000 at PNC. Have you guys ever been to PNC?
I have not. Yes. My brother has though. It's gorgeous. He said it was gorgeous.
Best stadium in the major leagues, no question.
No doubt about it. And you know, you being from New York, that means a lot, right? Like it's beautiful. It looks like it's kind of poetic, heavenly in the background. I had the best seat in the house, but we were winning in 11 and kind of with a bunch of misfits, right? Like guys from minor leagues, trades. I was like the 8th catcher that had been in a Pirates uniform that year. So it was wild. And I didn't think I was ever going to hit a homer facing Carlos Menmol. 9 pitches, and then that 10th pitch, 0-2. He just could not get that slider down. Homer, place erupted. I mean, erupted. It was the coolest moment. I round the bases. I don't ever remember running. High fives, get in the dugout, and they pull me out to tip my cap. And I almost don't remember that, but every time I see myself come out, I see Neil Walker and those guys pulling me out, man, tears come to my eye. And I think that's the biggest thing is you want to go back and look and remember it. And now I get why my wife's grandfather would tell the coolest stories because like you appreciate it more once it's kind of over, you know?
Mm-hmm. As everybody knows, we are talking to former Rockies, Pirates, and Cardinals catcher, current AT&T Sportsnet MLB analyst, Michael McHenry. Michael, there is a player here that I'm sure you know a little bit about. A lot of people here in New York attacked him has attacked him every single year, maybe because he's making $38 million as a pitcher here, but a guy that I have a lot of respect for, a guy that could pitch, a guy that proved in the playoffs last year that he can pitch, a guy named Garrett Cole, who I'm sure you know a little bit about. You catched for. Tell us a little bit about Garrett Cole when you were in Pittsburgh.
I would go to war with him any day he wanted to go. It's just you have to embrace Garrett Cole for who Garrett Cole is. And he's a competitor. He expects you to come to his level, period. And we never had a problem. I caught his debut in spring training, and I loved him. I love guys that are predictable. You know, you knew what you were going to get. On game day, he took the AJ Burnett approach. He kind of latched onto him. AJ took him under his wing, and he kind of took that a-hole mentality on, you know, if the media comes, he'd just, you know, like, and a lot of guys would sign in New York and stuff, and you're kind of worried, like, man, are they going to be able to handle it? The media, the scrutiny, you know, if they go 0 for 3, they're the worst hitter on the planet. But if they had a game-winning homer the next day, they're Babe Ruth. It's just an emotional roller coaster. For Garrett Cole, the day he walked in, dude didn't have a great slider, great breaking ball. He pretty much threw sinker and a 4-seam fastball. Changeup was like a BP fastball. He was just getting people out because he believed every single guy that walked up there could not touch him and didn't deserve to be on the same field. That's what makes him special. So like as long as he stays healthy, he'll outpitch any amount of money because his desire is to win. And it's hard to find those guys. Some guys play for money, but like he had money growing up. He wants to be the best, period. You know, like LeBron James, he wants to be the best. He wants to have all the records. You know, guys like that are hard to find. Tom Brady's of the world that just go to another level to try to say, the money's great. That's going to come along with me being the best and the baddest on this field. So I know there's mixed reviews. Don't agree with everything he does. I love him to death, and I would go to war for him anytime.
It's not that there's mixed reviews. Everybody here, especially people that don't like the Yankees, they take a shot at him because some people believe he can't pitch without spider tap or the crap that they've heard. And the guy, when he was obviously nitpicked with the spider tap for the first couple of weeks, he wasn't pitching very well. So everybody says, oh, he can't pitch without spider tap. And then he figured things out and he started pitching well. I hate
because that was a scam.
Yep. I agree with you.
Let's go ahead.
Go ahead. Get him.
I mean, I'm 38 years old. I'd never heard of this stuff. I looked it up on Amazon. I feel like somebody just picked it out and maybe 5 guys were using it. Maybe Garrett Cole was using it, but I beg you to go do an experiment. Go buy some rosin, get some water, and get a Major League Baseball. All right. Wet your hand, rosin, wait a second, grab the ball and try to take it and make it come off your hand. Water, rosin. Okay. It won't come off. The same sticky stuff's there. And there's a point of no return, right? To where like, if it's too sticky, you're gripping the ball too tight. You're going to start having, problems maybe with your flexor or UCL. So like, I think the way Major League Baseball went about that was absolutely awful. They should have waited to the end of the year, and they still have not defined what sticky is.
Maybe it's the stuff that Joey Votto senses in these extraterrestrials. Maybe they're all coming down and giving sticky stuff to.
Maybe they're wiping their ass. Maybe they're putting their hands.
Is that illegal? Is that illegal? Right? Is that a foreign substance? I don't know. Like they haven't defined that, right? And I'm telling you, Petey, if you were pitching, those umpires, they get in deep with that hair. So like with that hair you got, I mean, they would just stay in there.
Well, that's why I keep telling him to shave it. I mean, he likes your hair. Look at that, Speedy.
Well, it reminds me of my childhood.
There you go.
Yeah.
Honestly, my hair does not look that much different from when I was in high school. So,
hey, I love it. I love it. You are who you are. Like I said, I love people that are predictable. It's awesome because you know what you're going to get. If you're a jerk, be a jerk. You know.
So I want to go back to that 2013 season. You had that memorable playoff run, the first playoff season for the Pirates since 1992. It was the longest drought in baseball. I think it was the longest losing season drought in sports history or something like that. And then you guys beat the Reds and that aforementioned UFO chaser Joey Votto in that playoff game. Johnny Cueto infamously falling off the mound. So what was that whole season like in that playoff game, that atmosphere at PNC Park?
I don't know if I could describe how cool it was. We asked for a blackout. They got us a blackout. And they came at 5:30, 6 o'clock, and the stadium was packed. And we were all out there. And you're seeing them cross the bridge on 6th Street. And you just see a sea of black in this yellow bridge. And then the city backdrop. It was like something from a movie. You just can't even understand it. And then the fact that they actually all turned into Pirates all at the same time in the game, it was like, man, we're on the Black Pearl right now, boys. There's no way we can lose. And Johnny Cueto, if you look at his numbers, they're just kind of remarkable at PNC against the Pirates. So like there was a fear there. And when he dropped the ball, you just like knew immediately. I don't know who was next to me. I was on the DL, knee surgery. And I'll never forget, I said, I think it just ended. And he goes, it absolutely just ended. And I don't remember who it was. And sure enough, Russell Martin, homer. I was like, oh, man. And the whole place started shaking. I was like, we're going under, boys. We're out of here. We're going out on top, but we're out of here.
We're sinking.
Yeah, the Black Pearl was going down. We're right next to the Allegheny, so you don't know. There's some lock tooth monsters on there, so who knows?
Well, listen, I know a few Loch Ness monsters out there. So
The Loch Ness. I said lock tooth.
yeah, you know what? You can call
That
them
may be a
Loch Tooth.
dinosaur.
Hey, listen.
It's your Locktooth Monsters versus Joey Votto's aliens. Who will prevail?
But what perfect timing. I mean, there's things flying in the sky, rumors, blah, blah. Like, just play into it. It's so fun, man.
Yeah, well, Votto might be seeing flying saucers. You have Steph Curry thinking that we've never stepped on the moon, and Kyrie Irving thinks the earth is flat. I mean, we've heard it all here in professional sports. So educated when it comes to our athletes. There's no question. We are talking to former Rockies, Pirates, and Cardinals catcher and current AT&T Sportsnet MLB analyst Michael McHenry. Michael, you look at the World Baseball Classic, and the United States has never gotten their respect. Never. As a matter of fact, the World Baseball Classic has been around for almost 15 years, and the United States have really never shown what they can do. The USA, baseball, this is baseball's pastime. Everybody thinks that, baseball has fallen apart here in the United States. We do have arguably the best player in the world in Mike Trout, who hasn't stayed healthy for the last couple of years. Then you have Shohei Ohtani over there in Japan. You have Aaron Judge, who's not playing on the United States team. What are your thoughts this year on the World Baseball Classic, the teams that are put together, the Dominican Republic, the powerhouse that everybody keeps saying, oh, they're unstoppable. And then you have Japan that never loses in these championship, competitions. Where do you see the United States this year in this tournament with the talent that they have on this team this year?
It's one of the better teams I've seen them have with talent, maybe not as an actual team format because the star power is remarkable. And I think it's amazing for the game. There was a thing that Fox Sports put out today, and I tweeted on it, and I said, it said sold out, highly anticipated game against Mexico. And I was like, first off, that shouldn't be a highly anticipated game. We should absolutely just railroad Mexico. But the reality of it is like, I kind of poke fun at the rules changes, right? Because they're not doing that in the World Baseball Classic. I was like, man, it's weird when you put a game that matters, just absolute thunder of entertainment, excitement in the festival, and then a baseball game breaks out, that like all of a sudden we're not pandering about these rules anymore because it's actually about the game. It's actually about Mookie Betts, Mike Trout, or Noah Arenado. Who are we going to put in the 1, 2, 3 spot? Oh wait, we have Goldschmidt too. Crap, what are we going to do with him? And it just keeps going down the line, and it's a really cool thing to see. I'm so stoked that Adam Wainwright's starting the first game. Because he deserves it. I think he's the leader, no matter what, because that man is one of the nicest and genuine people you could ever meet. He actually grabbed my bag when I got called up with St. Louis and started unpacking my bag in the locker. Took it from the clubby, right? I mean, just a remarkable human. So, yeah, I think it's good. And I'll be honest, like just the way the game is right now and the youth that's running away from the game. This is a chance that this is the last chance we have that upper hand, in my opinion, because the American baseball players are slowly becoming the minority in Major League Baseball. Because you can't compete over a long period of time with kids that are going to a state-of-the-art school at 16, staying there, and they have their mini IMG training from 16 on, right? So and then they also know what it's like to have nothing. And I think that gives them a perspective that a lot of American kids don't, because in America, you win every game. You get a ring, you get a trophy, you participate, you win. Hey, you struck out 17 times this tournament? MVP, baby, MVP. And that's not teaching our kids anything. And it's also like making those kids like not understand that there's consequences when you lose. When they put on a helmet and pads, if you take the wrong route, you get hit, right? So they don't want to get hit anymore. So maybe that's how they get better. They start moving around. So I think they need to fix that problem. But until you fix the money problem in that, because man, they are just collecting paychecks in these 9 and 10-year-old super MLB all-star leagues that they're creating all over the country. It's just wild. So I think it's a great opportunity for us to like make a statement and maybe get some of those kids to really love baseball again in a way that they see Mike Trout as the best player, because there's a chance you could go to a baseball field in East Tennessee and they may not know who Mike Trout is.
They don't know him here. We're in New York. He walks around the streets. Mike Trout could walk right past you. You have no idea who he is. None.
Right. Right. And that's the problem with what we're doing in the MLB is that's got to get better. The MLBPA and the MLB have to bridge the gap of licensing and everything else to brand the players like the NBA and the NFL have done. They've just done a remarkable job. Like, I don't like how they dabble in all the politics and all the pandering and everything else. We do it in our own way in MLB, but like, if they would just take a little bit of that, open up Pandora's box and make sure people can watch these games. I mean, it's a shame. Like, I work for the Pirates. I can't watch all the baseball games. I have to go on to a system that no one has to go back and watch play by play by play on a minor league system. And that's not okay. Right. It's let's figure out a way we can make it easier. Yeah. Make it easier. And if it's not the whole game, like, allow people to buy some games. Like, I mean, how many games my mom and dad didn't get to watch me play? You know, and that's a shame, right?
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I think the game needs to figure that out. I think the new rule changes, I mean, the no shifting, I think it will open up the game a little bit offensively.
Yeah, please give me your all's insight on your perspective, because I asked a question the other day on a podcast, and I asked my nephew and my cousin this, and they're in their early 20s. I said, what was broken? Like, when you went to a game, they both came up to Pittsburgh last year. Did you think about the time?
No.
Did you know how long the game was? Like,
no.
And he goes, only thing I knew was the 7th inning because beer stopped. Right? And I was like, that's awesome. You know, like, I mean, that's a reality. So they are getting frustrated because they're huge Tennessee baseball fans.
Right.
And things have happened because they're doing a lot of the same rules and they don't understand it. You know, and that's going to happen in the MLB because there's a lot of teams that cover 4 games. They get 4 games covered. So like, normal fans aren't watching it because they're at work. Right. So all of a sudden this is going to happen in the middle of the season and people are going to be like, why did the umpire point to the sky, tap his wrist and go, right? Because they're doing hand signals. That's how they're doing this. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, the broadcasts even have a hard time keeping up with what they're doing because they're trying to figure it out and they hired new people. There's just so much going on. So you guys tell me your thoughts, because I think the fans are the only thing that matters.
We are talking, first of all, to former Rockies, Pirates, Cardinals catcher and current AT&T Sportsnet MLB analyst Michael McHenry. Really, I think the shifting had to be done. I just never liked it. I know it's been in baseball for such a long time. It's been in baseball since the 1950s, and shifting's been around since Ted Williams. Everybody has said that. But I think with Madden doing it with Tampa and really transitioning the analytics and everything like that, I don't like the game when there's the third baseman's playing on the first base line, the shortstop's playing in the outfield, the second baseman's playing in the middle of the center field. You have the center fielder playing left field, and the left fielder playing all the way on the line. It doesn't make any sense. It ruins the game. I understand that if you're a hitter, you're a left-handed hitter, if you don't know how to bunt, well then tough luck. But I think the game will be better and it'll open up the offensive side of the ball when it comes to the third baseman playing on the third base line, the second baseman playing on second base. I think that makes sense. I think it will open up the game for the left-handed hitters and right-handed hitters. No question. I love that there is no more shifting. The clock, it doesn't make sense. I think it's going to hurt a lot of these hitters that are so used to doing what they did in high school into college and then into now coming into the MLB. I don't like how they play with their gloves a million times and tuck their pants in or grab their crotch or whatever the heck they do before they go up to the plate every single time a ball comes out of the pitcher's hand. I don't like that, but
that's called sex appeal. Okay, like, leave it be, right? That's just what happens, right? But while you're right there, I want to ask you guys a question. You guys played sports.
Of course,
you guys probably have met a mental skills or a sports psychologist, guys.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about them. What is the thing they all say? You just gotta slow the game down.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't wait next week. I'm going to go find our performance psychologist and be like, hey, bro, do you say you got to speed the game up? Like, what do you say now? Right. Like I'm a big believer. I have a bunch of buddies that I've trained with their Navy SEALs, military, firefighters, police officers, and they have an extreme violence approach. So like you can't think, right? So you don't have but that. So you kick in the door, right? That's why they always refer to door kicking. It affirms that don't think meat, just kick and go.
Right.
And then you trust your instinct. So I think there's going to be some players that's going to really help because they've been told their entire life, me being one of those, because ADD out the wazoo, when I'm trying to slow down, I'm speeding up. So like it may have helped a guy like me, but the swing and miss this spring has been off the charts. They're going to crazy surpass that. So I have to say it's part of that, but I'll tell you my thoughts here in a second. I want you guys to finish up, but just lift up those guys in your prayers tonight, those sports psychologists, because their go-to term is gone. It's dead in baseball.
So I wanted to mention this because you mentioned actually the pace, and I'm kind of in between on the pitch clock. Like I think it's necessary to an extent, but I also think the way they have it now is a little too quick. I would have rather seen it maybe be 25 seconds with bases empty and 30 seconds or something like that with the runner is on. I don't like all the throwovers. I think they're good reducing that to 2 because that stalls the game a lot when these guys are just soft tossing, not even trying to pick off guys.
But they weren't doing it.
I know
they weren't doing it. Like they weren't running, so it wasn't happening.
I know
So,
that. And
yeah, it's great. It was just a crazy thing, and if you knew the real reason why they did it, it's just because they could.
Right.
And it was really to get to the box and try to speed guys up on the base pass. Like they just want to create more action, which I understand that, but it's not fair to Ricky Henderson. It's not fair to the numbers. And just like steroids and sticky stuff and all that stuff, they whine and complain and do nothing about it. No matter what, Barry Bonds was hitting against guys that were on steroids. He never failed a drug test. So make it make sense, right? Like it's the same old baseball. It's like, let's get in the headlines as much as possible, which is a great business move. And let's make it as confusing as possible because do you know the catcher has to be in the box at 9 seconds? But it doesn't have to be squatted. So what would I do? I'd give my sign standing up. Because there's no hitter in his right mind for at least a little while who's going to understand that if I'm standing up, he probably shouldn't be ready. But no matter what, he has to be ready at 8 seconds. You even know what that means?
Well, as a baseball player, no, but everything else I do.
Just watch out. Just watch out if you give it a side setting up. The Astros might steal it anyway.
They weren't the only ones. Come on. They weren't the only ones.
How about this? Why don't we take Bud Selig out of the Hall of Fame and toss him in the garbage? I mean, that guy was a car salesman, and he's the one who wanted steroids. And by the way, I'll say it again. We've had so many great sports guys, athletes, MLB players on our show. And I've said this to them, and I'll say it again. Steroids should be allowed in professional sports, except combat sports. That keeps them on the field. They're making millions and millions of dollars. They're keeping the fans in the seats. If that's going to help guys like Andy Pettitte stay healthy and stay on the field, I don't give a crap.
He took HGH, though. And
Yeah,
I
know.
agree.
I know.
There's not a doctor, there's not an orthopedic, if they're genuine and honest, that wouldn't say there should be like certain drugs. I wouldn't say steroids. I would say things that help guys recover, because that's the big thing. Steroids didn't help guys as much as other things, because you're actually doing a lot of things that are going to, in baseball especially, going to probably lead to an injury because the elasticity that you need, it's more of an endurance sport when you think about how long it is. And then you have those quick sprints. So like, I really think like if we wouldn't abuse it as players and as the MLB, just in general, like you were saying with Bud Selig, I have no idea if that's right, wrong, or indifferent, but the reality of it is, it's like, that's what every orthopedic, when I asked, because I said, why can't I get HGH in my knee knowing that I wouldn't have to have surgery? And my cartilage would grow back. Studies prove it. He's like, because you guys are morons. You guys would abuse it because it'd be the guy, oh, my knee hurts. He goes into a scope, they cut him up a little bit, and they just pump him full of stuff and walk out. Like, so it's just all about that regulation. And that's the thing is it's the human problem. That's the problem. And blaming it on one guy is dumb because there's more guys that took jobs and maybe would have not made it because those guys that were right on the fringe, it made a huge difference. And that's what should be talked about. Not the guys that theoretically would probably be in the Hall of Fame, even if they switched and hit right-handed instead of left-handed. Barry Bonds would have figured it out. And it's just silly. It's really a personality contest at times.
He was a Hall of Famer before he even did that. I mean, 400 home runs, 400 stolen bases. He was an all-world center fielder, 7 Gold Gloves. The fact that baseball is not putting him in the Hall of Fame, shame on them. Roger Clemens, a Hall of Famer, shame on them.
Kurt Schilling, Hall of Famer.
Absolutely.
Keep going. Yeah.
First of all, Kurt Schilling, yes, he's got a big mouth. Yes, he has his own thoughts to the world and politics. Who the hell cares? The guy was
encouraged to do that as kids.
Yeah.
Right? Ask questions, right? Ask questions and have opinions, but be willing to take feedback and debate those things. That doesn't exist. And the fact that they said, Kurt Schilling, you shouldn't say that you believe in that guy or this guy or think that politically or be a bad teammate, now actually be a Christian, a good guy, and give away money. So you say you're a bad guy. Now Don Mattingly, great guy, awesome dude, almost every way, shape, and form, like needs to be in the Hall of Fame. Maybe he's on the cusp. You can't find anybody that doesn't love him. So if you're going to go all personality and it's going to be a Miss Congeniality contest, you got to put him in, right? You have to. Like, it's just like, what are the standards? Like, it's the biggest problem in sports is explain it. Like, you would understand the shift better if you understood arbitration. No matter what they do, they're not going to change what we're seeing until they change the way they pay these guys. I love the banning of the shift now. I hated it. Like when they did it. And the only reason I say that is because, once again, I want to see guys adapt. And I know that it's not going to change the fact that the swing and miss is the problem.
Right.
The walks are the problem, but that's what they're getting paid for. Hit homers, OPS, OPS plus. That's all it is. That's why Joey Gallo is getting 11 million. And it's an arbitration problem. It's a pay problem. And it's really highlighted at guys that are in arbitration. That's 5% of the guys that ever touch the field or something like that. So yeah, I wish they would be more transparent. I think it would help so much, like what's the real reason? What are we doing and how are we doing it? And I think that would mean so much to fans because you don't know, but watching the shift be gone and seeing how athletic these dudes are, it's fun. And they're going to have to actually think now, right? It's not an offensive coordinator up in the front office mapping it out 4 days in advance saying, oh, he needs to play here. He needs to play here. Now a guy that, his ankle hurts, he could shade some way or he could watch a swing and actually have to learn, hey, the dude's late. Maybe I'm going to move this way a little bit. Maybe I have to learn what his pitcher's throwing and maybe, adapt to that. I mean, that was the coolest stuff when you're coming up. You got an advantage to that, now that may come back. So it's going to be interesting, but everything they're doing is a play to put more stuff in. I mean, we've already seen that.
We are talking to former Rockies, Pirates, and Cardinals catcher, current AT&T Sportsnet MLB analyst Michael McHenry. Mike, when you look at the game, and I know you're a busy guy, so we don't want to keep you on too much longer. I know you're having a great time, and you get to look at Speedy's wonderful hair. When you look at the game and the transition of the game and some of these new rules and these writers, and I think the writers are the worst in professional sports because they're the ones that vote these guys into the Hall of Fame. That's why Jeff Kent is not in the Hall of Fame. That's why Barry Bonds is in the Hall of Fame, Kurt Schilling, like we were saying. But the game as a whole, the transition of the game, and with, I believe, one of the worst commissioners in professional sports in Rob Manfred, and I'm sorry, he's horrible. Please, in 2024, Theo Epstein, please let him become the commissioner of baseball because I think he can help baseball transition to the better years and maybe make the baseball the world power here in the United States again. It was once the world power. Now it's the NFL and baseball's falling apart. It really is because of the NBA, the growth internationally, and then, the NFL. Now they're trying to bring the NFL in England and Germany and all over the place.
But what does fall apart mean? Because I think that's something that they need to explain because I can't explain.
You said it. You said it. United States. I mean the USA.
Yeah, I see it in the long run, but when you're San Diego Padres and you're a small market and you're just blowing past, the cap, not cap, but like whatever the competitive balance. Like
they don't have enough fans that go to the games. How do they pay for that?
That just shows how much money they have.
Yeah.
Like that's how much revenue is coming in. I mean, every team is worth over $1 billion, and most of these guys paid for their teams. If you look it up, less than 300 million. So their return on investment is remarkable. So is it that there's a problem that the game's not growing and people aren't like showing up and the revenue's down, or is it that these guys are, sitting on a lot of money and some are realizing, man, if we win and we bring in exciting players like San Diego, New York, like great things are going to happen. But then that happens, it's like, no, you're going to mess up our thing we have going here, our scheme. We're not going to let that happen. I mean, they just need to bridge the gap, but they need to be honest. It's like with all the regional network stuff, what's going on? MLB, you can pay for it. You can buy it. MLB PA, come buy one of the regions. I think that'd be the most brilliant move. Then all the players can brand themselves and get all the revenue, right? Like just do something that's different. That's maybe not 50 plus, go down, get people that can think really outside the box, that are great business mind, that's know nothing about baseball, right? And then let them take care of the business and you take care of that product on the field. Keep them on the field. Injuries are going up. That makes no sense. Make it make sense every year.
So is there, oh God, you were saying something?
No, it's just I've had so many of these. I've just had so many of these conversations lately, and it's so frustrating because like Mike Trout being on the field is good for baseball. Like guys not having Tommy John is good for baseball. You can quantify these things better than you ever could. So why are they continually getting hurt? Are they not sharing the information? I know a lot of these answers. I'm asking fans to think through it, right? If you can read a biomechanics and tell a guy, hey, if you did this, this, and this, and we strengthen your core and make sure your hips loosen up with your mobility, that kinetic chain is going to work faster. You're going to throw probably 45 miles an hour harder on average, maybe better, maybe worse, because everybody's a little bit different. We're humans. And it works almost every time if the guy puts in the work and owns it, right? And then you can take that and say, well, if you're moving that efficient, you're not putting the stress on your elbow. And you can wear these devices, you can do this. And it's like, wow, we have all these things that tell us how not to get hurt, how to be better, but like it's going up and up and up and up. It's like, I just want to figure out like, what's the end game?
I tell you what, let's go to Trevor Bauer, who is
yeah, that's another mess. The guy needs to be in a baseball uniform on
I mean, I will say this: the guy is a science, wizard when it comes to your arm and protecting your arm. The guy has never had problems with his arm or his shoulder ever. With some of the mathematical, scientific, ways he trains his arm every single year in the off season. If he just can keep himself from, the stupidity off the field, this guy could really change the game as far as pitchers are concerned. He is what you want when it comes to finding a guy that can help you from not getting hurt, not hurting your shoulder, not hurting your elbow as a pitcher. I mean, he is the guy. Him and his father are brilliant, but he's just stupid off the field, a dumb person. And unfortunately, he was raised.
But name more than the case that he got acquitted.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's that. Like I'm a believer, and I always give people grace. I mean, it's almost been 3 years, right? Has he done anything wrong?
No.
Has he been,
No.
outspoken, everything else? Yeah, that's the problem. And the fact that his contract for any team that wants to sign him is league minimum.
Right.
And he's a top 5 pitcher. I watched him throw a bullpen just the other day. I don't know Trevor Bauer, and I don't know what really happened, blah, blah, blah. It's not for me to wonder. If he shows up and he pitches and he does everything he needs to, I have no problem. Right.
The only thing, and I agree with you, I think
like
Trevor Bauer
League, Rick Vaughn,
yeah,
like he didn't have to go pitch in the penal league like Rick Vaughn in Major League, right? So I just
mean, the stories coming out with him is what he says about women, the way he has treated women in the past. That's the only thing that I hold back from maybe signing him, because he's.
So why is Tiger Woods worth $1 billion?
Well, Tiger Woods is a whole nother story, by the way.
But like, what about all the guys that didn't get caught? Like, it's just one of those things. It's like that double-edged sword. I think it's because he was revolutionary. He's outspoken. He pushed back. He asked tough questions, and fans loved it. I mean, go look at his YouTube.
Mhm.
Go look at his brand growing, and you mark my word, if they don't get him back in this game, there's going to be another league.
Mhm.
He's gonna do something that's gonna push back so hard and make it make sense for people. I
Right.
don't know how he's gonna do it because, like you said, he's so smart. But like, there's been rumblings that was gonna happen in years past,
Mhm.
and it's happened in golf. It's happened in, I don't know if it succeed, but you look at the Savannah Bananas and different things. Like, they're doing really well. They're doing really, really well. They just built a multi-million-dollar state-of-the-art media
Right.
center there, and they're going all over the country. And Johnny Damon's going there to play. I mean, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like it's fun. So yeah, I'm interested, but I don't understand like why one guy can play and the other guy can't. Like Ozuna's playing in the playoffs, and he's indicted 3 days before. Just find a standard. Just find a way to go about it and be really honest. Like the reason he got his ban, the longest of all time, was from an arbiter in Major League Baseball, hired by Major League Baseball, and there was nobody that could challenge him. But the state and the government, who went to school for 10 years to be a judge and then had to work their way up, acquitted him in every way. And he has the only female agent. So why is she there? But go listen to why she's there.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is like, there's always two sides, right, wrong, or indifferent. Just tell us both. And
I will say this. And sorry to cut you off.
That's just a really like strong thing, because like there's things that happened in I'll tell you something that happened in my career that it was going to be devastating. I failed a drug test.
Mhm.
I never took steroids. I took a medication I was taking that I took since I was a kid, on and off. I have ADD. The doctor didn't turn in my paperwork, but instead of facing that fact, they were going to let me fail a drug test. And I was the first player because someone stood up for me and said, not Michael. Michael did not do anything wrong. He's been on this medication, and I still don't know who this is. Wow. That was in 2016. Damn. I played on 5 teams. My dad had cancer. I saw 2 doctors. I spent $350 to pay these guys, all on my own dime, to make sure all my bases were covered. And the paperwork wasn't done by the doctor that I didn't see, who changed my medication, did everything else. And I was going to have to walk away from baseball as a guy that failed a drug test, and being a guy that is bulky and whatnot. Of course, they're going to believe it. Oh, that's how he got there. Dude, there's no telling what that could have done to me. And the worst part is, I had to sue MLB right afterwards.
It's horrible.
So not many people have ever heard that story, but like, they were going to throw me under the bus. And I had almost 140 emails my wife wrote of pure evidence. There was a lawsuit, and guess who won?
You did.
My doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly, it's all lock and key. But guess what? He's not an MLB certified doctor anymore. And that's like, he didn't do anything wrong. Nothing. He did nothing wrong. So that's where like, there's always two sides, and I try to see it from a picture of their lens instead of mine. Because everybody has a different reality. And you don't know. Nobody ever talks about Trevor Bauer's worth $42 million that year too. Right? Like, there's a lot of stories of people, coming in and trying to take that. So
I agree with you, man. Mike, we really appreciate your time. I know you're a busy guy. We would love to get you on again. We've interviewed a lot of ex-baseball players, but you're one of my favorites. I think.
Stop.
No, I'm being serious. You're very. No, I'm being serious. We had Ben Heller on yesterday, relief pitcher for the Tampa Bay Rays. We're getting a lot of baseball guys on now because the baseball season's right around the corner. But your sincerity and who you are as a person, and really being open with us. And I'm sure you've been on a bunch of shows, and a lot of people are just going to sit there and say, yeah, whatever. I think we like to open up and be different when it comes to interviewing people, not just because we're radio guys, but also we respect the people that we interview. We know all the different trials and tribulations you probably had to go through that people don't know. Me as an athlete, I was a hockey player, hurt my knee. my career was over before it even started, and I was a top prospect. So I know what it's like to be on top and then fall all the way to the bottom. And
And look at you now, though.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
You built your own thing.
Yeah,
Right? You got your big leagues right here, baby.
Yeah, and soon I believe we'll be nationally bigger than I believe anybody in the industry, and I really do believe it. And we want to be different. We want to show people that radio should be done a different way. And the way radio is right now, I think my opinion, it's garbage. And I think you have to have fun. You have to be open. You have to, when you get people on your show, you want them to be different. You want the interview to be more open and different in a conversation instead of sitting there and asking the same old boring questions. Have a little fun with those guys and let them know that you are different and you have the energy and personality that can stick with them no matter what they played or who they are in the industry. So we really appreciate you, man. Keep up the good work. And we would love to get you on again. Keep up that, and hopefully the Pirates are a pretty good team this year in the National League. We're hoping, one of those guys, one of your best players could have been a Yankee in the offseason. It didn't work out, but maybe as the season progressively moves forward, he could be. So thank you for all the work that you've done for the MLB. Keep up the good work. Stay out of trouble, buddy. Okay.
No problem there. And hey, I appreciate you guys having me. And, this was a lot of fun. And you're right. Like just meeting people where they're at, talking shop, like you're, the boys hanging out in the basement or at the bar, I think it's really important because that's what the average fan does. And that's what I try to do. And I'm always willing, anybody that's watching this, you guys, like give me feedback because I want to know from you guys. And there's so much that's out there that's not talked about. Some of the best writers, you're talking about writers, some of the best writers. And that's why I'm doing this podcast with Mackey in Pittsburgh, because like he calls a spade a spade. He calls everything as is, and he backs it up with facts and understanding. And he goes and sees the player too.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest thing I would say, like in media and everything with like radio, like just remember they're a human. Why they're struggling may not be anything more than something outside the realm of your understanding, because no matter what, we have to show up and play.
Right.
They don't care. Like it doesn't matter. Someone died, doesn't matter. Show up and play. Right? Torn hamstring, show up and play. It's the playoffs because, and you want to. And when the fans back you because they understand that, it's a whole different world. And that's what I hope you guys continue to do. Outkick 360, Barstool, all these guys that are, kind of pushing back in different ways. It's cool, and I love how things are taking different lanes. Like you guys are different.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed this and I'd love to come back on.
Absolutely. I will say this. When we get our shot, no matter what area it is in the industry, from any of the big names, and I'm not going to mention them, everybody knows, whenever it happens, and I believe it's going to happen soon, we're not going to forget where we were and where we came from to where we become in that future. I don't think anybody understands how hard this industry is. And I've said that to many, many different people that have really moved towards broadcasting after their careers. It's not easy. It's even harder now to do this than become a professional athlete, because it's just, everybody has a podcast and everybody's doing that and everybody's doing that. And we do a show at 103.9 FM out here, and we try to give and deliver something that other people don't deliver in New York sports, being that this is one of the hardest areas in the industry to work in this industry. So again, Mike, keep up the good work. Do the thing that you love to do, and that's be a part of what baseball is and the transition of baseball, and be the face of it, because you've done such a great job on and off the field, and I respect everything that you've done. I'm going to have Speedy send you my Twitter. I'm going to follow you on Twitter, and we'll be in touch, man. Thank you so much.
Let's do it. And I think Speedy may be the first silent assassin on radio.
Well, he's not silent.
Don't give me that much credit.
I bet guys like you, Speedy, I want to like hear what's going on in your head without you having to even say anything. Like you should put a bubble above you. It's like, this is what Petey's thinking, and like try to have fun with that. Cause I still haven't got to ask, like, New York fan, Mets fan, you guys are friends. It's wild.
He's a Met fan. He actually works. He came from Connecticut to come and work with me here in New York after he graduated from college. And a lot of people, and Speedy's been through so many trials and tribulations. When he started, he was not very good, sitting working with me and just really, I'm a very different personality to work with. I think he's opened up a little bit more as a radio guy. And even when he meets people in person, when he's more shy than he is interactive with people. I think more when he's been working with me, he's been more open to doing those things. And I think he's changed. I think he's going to be one of the good ones when the opportunity comes apart. This guy is not only a big time play-by-play guy, personality, really transitions, really changed. He will change the industry. And by the way, he is autistic too. People don't know that, but he is. And it's pretty amazing from all the things that he has been through in his life and for what he is now. It's pretty amazing. It's an amazing story. And like I said, anybody can make it in this industry if you put your heart and soul into it and you work really, really hard. So and he's done that, and he's going to get his opportunity, and no question.
Don't worry. Next time we have him on the show, maybe I could lure one of the aliens, and they can figure out how to do the speech bubbles above me, and then I won't even have to talk. I could just do the entire show in speech bubbles.
Yeah, in an alien suit, hopefully.
In an alien suit.
Now, listen. He lost a bet one time. He had to dress up in a woman's wig and a woman's muumuu dress. Okay,
what? A muumuu?
You know when a big woman wears like a muumuu, like it goes over you. It's not quite a dress, but it's like a muumuu.
I've never heard that. I've never heard that.
You ever see the movie The Ring? The girl that comes up and crawls up from the thing.
She's not big though. That's a muumuu.
But he wore something like that looked like she was like it was hilarious. It was like a pink. It was absolutely. I got to send you the picture. I'll have Speedy send you the picture. It is one of the funniest.
I don't even know if I have it.
I have it.
Oh, you guys have it. You have it.
Don't lie. I have one of the pictures. Yeah. I got to send that to you. I try not to
think about it.
It is pretty funny. It is very, very funny.
Yes, Snug. I know I have one in a Cowboys jersey as well. As a matter of fact, I had to wear worse.
I had to wear a Patriots Tom Brady jersey, and I'm a Jet fan. Could you imagine that? A person like me who can't stand Tom Brady had to do that. I lost the bet. I mean, you lose bets and you win bets, and I have a bet.
You got to man up.
Well, I'll tell you this. I got a bet that if Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets, one of our fans has to eat dog poo-poo. So he's got to pick up dog poo and stick it in his mouth and swallow it. And yes, he's one of our fans who likes to talk crap, and he might be eating crap at the end of this. So,
whoa,
paybacks are a bitch.
Please let me know.
I will. I'm good.
When that show happens.
It's gonna happen soon.
Man, and it better be warm. It better be fresh, and it better be real.
It's going to be real. It's going to be fresh, and he is going to lose.
Yeah, I want to meet Poopy Mouth when that happens.
You're going to get a chance to see it. Because
wait. What do you have to do if he signs in Nashville?
If he goes anywhere else, I have to call one of my friends / fans the FUD for a year, 12 months of FUD. Which why do we have to call him FUD? Because
it doesn't matter. That's a absolute win. That's an absolute win for you.
Yeah, it is.
Not eating poo and you calling somebody by a weird name. I would have taken that bet no matter what. You didn't even have to tell me who it was for, where he was going. Oh yeah, I'll take that.
Wow.
So the origin story of that, this guy Mike is his name as well, and myself are big New York Rangers fans. So in the playoffs, he was complaining. One of the games he was complaining about, and he was blaming it on the referees. But the way he says it with the dialect or whatever it is, the pronunciation, it sounded like Wefoese. So it started to get on that Elmer Fudd type thing, a cartoon type animation of it. And then we brought it up again because he's a Dallas Cowboys fan. When they lost to the playoffs to the 49ers, we brought it up again, and we were just mocking that whole notion. So eventually that other caller, the one that has to eat dog crap if he loses the bet, was bringing that up. And it was like, that's perfect. We're just going to roll with that. And since then, he's been calling him Fudd for about a month.
Yeah. So
last thing before I go, you should do a fan vote for the dog. Right? Like, I mean, it's a different breed, right? You do a little Shih Tzu, or like, do you go full throttle and you get a Great Dane? right? There's a big difference there. Yeah. So
Well, if I can't say it on air, but there was a reason why he doesn't care to eat dog doo-doo. Okay. And I'm not going to say it on air because I don't want to sicken anybody.
I don't know if I want to know.
But I'll definitely have Speedy send you the message on why he says it's not a big deal. But it's definitely something that you'll probably fall off your chair after it is said to you. But again, Mr. Michael McHenry, you are fantastic. As always, keep up the good work. We'll talk to you soon, bud.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. God bless.
Absolutely. Michael McHenry, ex-MLB player, AT&T Sportsnet MLB analyst. Fantastic. Great personality. Great interview. And a person, a person that you have a lot of respect for. It wasn't easy, and look, 7 years of professional baseball, and now is one of the voices of Pittsburgh Pirates baseball. There you go, Speedy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
great insight of everything in baseball. So you gotta love the perspective on the Hall of Fame, the perspective on these rules changes.
It was a great
It was
interview.
one of the best interviews we ever had.
Yes.
I'm not saying informative, unique, funny, like great personality. Like it was everything in that interview. One of the best, maybe the best we've ever done with any.
It was a
professional
fantastic
athletes.
interview. It's an interview that if you missed, must listen. Okay. It is something that if you're a baseball fan, if you're just a fan of our show, if you missed that interview, shame on you. That was a great interview. And this week, the interviews have been fantastic. It really has been. And just, personality wise, what these guys have gone through. And you listen, if you listen to Michael and what he said about his career, he used to be picked on. You know what I mean?
Right.
He was obviously made fun of as a kid and was bullied. And look where he became, look what he became, look where he's gone as a professional athlete. That by itself sells you from what you could do and what you could be in the future if you just put your mind to it. It doesn't matter what anybody tells you. And it's the same thing with us. I believe we're going to be the biggest radio show, and I believe, and I when my agent came to me and he asked me before he decided to take me on, I told him, he says, "Where do you want to go with this?" I want to be the biggest radio show host in the country. I want to be the best. Not because I want to stick out like a sore thumb and say I'm the best. I want to show people that my desire, my personality, and my want to being the best is going to get me where I want to go. And you put your mind and your heart and your soul into anything you do, and you want. I've done this for 8-9 years, and I'm still growing and wanting to be on top of the world with this. And I believe it's coming, and I believe in hard work and dedication. So, and Speedy, you've been with me for 5 years now, and I have not changed who I am, and I will never change who I am when it comes to personality, because this is who I am.
Of course.
What you hear on this show and my craziness is the same person I am off air. If anybody knows me off air, if you think I'm crazy on this show, you have no idea how crazy I am off this show. And this is how I build my friendships. And people will tell you, anybody that knows me personality wise will tell you, Errol is one of the craziest SOBs I've ever met, but he's real. And he's always been there 110%, no matter what he will be, no matter where he goes or what he does in the future. I'll never forget where I'm from and who I am as a person. I'll never change. Never. So, and that's just who I am. And thank you to Michael McHenry. Thank you to Clay Ferraro. Two great guests tonight. A lot of sports to get into. Why don't we go to a quick break? When we come back, more football. We're going to get into some baseball as Carlos Rodon suffers a left forearm injury, and Aaron Judge reportedly turned down an offer over $50 million extra from the Padres to stay with the Yankees. When we come back, we will argue why Aaron Judge might have made a mistake. Crazy to say that, but I'm going to tell you why when we come back here on the Sports Loudmouths.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ed Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouths.
Six 3108 is the number to call. You are listening to the Sports Loudmouths. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedier. Yes, Speedy Petey. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Sports Loudmouths, which airs every single Wednesdays at 7 p.m. and Thursdays at 9 p.m. Great guests, great commentating, great craziness on our shows. As always, listen to us every single week on our network. And yes, over the weekend, we have Kenny Rayner doing the show. If you want to, sleep or listen to craziness, listen to Kenny on Sundays. It is a crazy, crazy, weird show. Anyways, you have people wearing, nothing. I mean, they're wearing, towels after the showers. I mean, it is crazy. Anyways, you sit here, and we were talking about Lamar Jackson, but there's a quarterback carousel going on in the NFL. And former NFL general manager Michael Lombardi believes the Rams would love to trade Matthew Stafford this offseason. Matthew Stafford won a Super Bowl just 2 years ago. Matthew Stafford was the reason why the Rams won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. This past year, he had a shoulder injury in the offseason. Going into this year's season, he wasn't 100% healthy. He wasn't. And now all of a sudden, he missed the full season practically. And the Rams gave up so many prospects, so many picks when they traded for him from Detroit. And they wanted to win a Super Bowl. And Matthew Stafford is still within age. He could still play another 5 years. I don't know how bad his back is. I don't know how bad his shoulder is. But after you win a Super Bowl, and now your contract is slowly going to be up in the next 2 years, why all of a sudden are Rams trying to move him? Trying to push away the quarterback that finally brought you home a championship in how many years? This is the problem with professional sports. You're good 1 year, you're loved and beloved 1 year, and then you're complete garbage the next. And I can't sit here right now, and I'm not a Matthew Stafford fan. As a matter of fact, I still think Matthew Stafford will go to the Hall of Fame. He has the numbers. He'll probably not be a first ballot Hall of Famer, but I think he's a second or third. I do not believe Matthew Stafford's career is over. I don't. I do believe he has some injuries he needs to clean up, and maybe this offseason he has cleaned them up. He has a tremendous amount of talent as far as Cooper Kupp is concerned, and some of the players that he has had over the last couple of years. The offensive line needs to be cleaned up. This is something that they need to do this offseason. Maybe they start to drop players and bring players in, free agents in to help out Matthew Stafford, because how are you expecting a quarterback that is a pocket present quarterback? He is not a mobile quarterback to stand in the pocket and make every single throw. And I can't sit here, and I'm not saying maybe, Keith, he might be done. Maybe he is.
Very much could be, especially if that back injury.
He might be. But to say that, they're willing to trade him, obviously is not done if they're willing to trade him. Because if they're willing to trade him, they know something, that he is going to come back at least somewhat healthy. Is he not a Hall of Famer? Speedy, bring up his numbers. Bring up Matthew Stafford's numbers, because I am going to compare his numbers to the elite quarterbacks of this era. And now winning a Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers won Super Bowl. Now, is he Aaron Rodgers? No, he's not. There might only be one quarterback that we know that we can compare him to Aaron Rodgers, and that is Tom Brady. Okay? But Matthew Stafford has the numbers of a Hall of Famer. Speedy, you have him?
52,082 passing yards. He's got 333 touchdowns, 169 interceptions, 63.2% completion percentage, averaging 11.6 yards per pass.
Mm-hmm.
And he played 14 seasons in the NFL, 2009 and 2020 with Detroit, and then the last 2 years with the Rams.
Bring up Ben Roethlisberger's numbers. Bring up Ben Roethlisberger's numbers and compare Ben Roethlisberger's numbers to him. Now, Ben won 2 Super Bowls. One of them was his rookie season, and it really wasn't him. It was the defense.
So Roethlisberger finished his career with 64,088 yards, 400,
which is only, by the way, 13,000 more than Matthew Stafford. And Matthew Stafford's how old?
Matthew Stafford is, he is 35?
35. 34, 35. Let's put it. That means
35.
And Ben Roethlisberger retired at what age?
He retired only 2 years ago at age 39.
39. So he has 4 years more than Matthew Stafford. That means Matthew Stafford could break his numbers in 3 years. He throws around 4,000 yards every single year. So, okay, so the yards, now touchdowns. What touchdowns?
He has 418 to Matthew Stafford's 333.
Okay.
And he has much more interceptions, 211 to Stafford's 169.
And Ben has played on the Pittsburgh Steelers, one of the greatest teams of all time when it comes to the NFL, and always a good team, to the Lions, the Detroit Lions. And all he threw to really was Calvin Johnson all those years. To say that Matthew Stafford isn't a Hall of Famer is ridiculous. Keith, I love you. Matthew Stafford's a Hall of Famer. He is an absolute Hall of Famer. If he were to retire today after winning that Super Bowl, he's a Hall of Famer.
Yes, Keith. Eli Manning is also a Hall of Famer. So
yes.
Keith, you might have difficult standards for these quarterbacks, I guess, because if you're saying Eli Manning, Big Ben, and Matthew Stafford are not Hall of Famers, I don't know about that. Keith, you might have a tough.
Eli's a Hall of Famer. Ben Roethlisberger's a Hall of Famer. Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Famer. I'm not saying Matthew Stafford's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's not. But he is a Hall of Famer. He is one of the elite quarterbacks of this era. He is. His numbers show he played for the Detroit Lions, an organization with a bunch of losers. How many coaches has Matthew Stafford had over the years he was in Detroit?
Including a stint of Matt Patricia. Whoever wants to
had to be about 4 or 5.
Probably 4. Yeah, because Caldwell was there for a while. That was probably half his tenure. But before that, they had the 1 year of
Caldwell wasn't that long. He was there for 2 years.
Caldwell was there for 5 years.
No way. No way. Go look that up.
2010 to 2013.
Look that up.
And then
Caldwell was not there. They actually fired him with a winning record. Caldwell was not there long.
I know that. It was a really bad move to fire him for sure. And then they bumped around. Jim Schwartz was there for a little bit. Jim Schwartz was there before Jim Caldwell. Then Jim Caldwell was there. They fired him.
He was there for 2 years, Caldwell. He wasn't there that long. I'm telling you, go look.
And then Matt Patricia surviving that stint alone is really going to be something that was bad enough. And then Rod Marinelli too. Remember
bad coaching.
Rod Marinelli, who coached the 0-16 Lions. Stafford came in drafted as the number 1 pick, and they were 2-14 the first year too. So it's not like he really helped this cause either.
No, and
Rod Marinelli.
Matthew Stafford's a Hall of Famer. He is absolutely a Hall of Famer. He was the number 1 pick. How many number 1 picks besides Peyton Manning that you could remember in the last 20 years that are going to the Hall of Fame? Honestly, could anybody answer that question? I mean, Eli Manning, was he the number one pick? I mean, it was really
technicality wise.
I mean, maybe him. There's nobody. Usually, if you're number one, you're not the quarterback everybody thought you were going to be. He came from Georgia, Matthew Stafford.
Mm-hmm.
And how many Georgia quarterbacks were drafted in the first round as top picks? There was one not too far from him that couldn't stay healthy.
Yeah, Keith says, I think Stafford should definitely be a Hall of Famer. I agree. I'm just saying how the writers are going to vote.
I don't care what the writers say. He is not going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he's a Hall of Famer.
Right. It might take him probably 3 tries.
Yeah,
based on other positions. Yeah, we said Peyton Manning, Jeff.
Yeah, we said Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning,
we said
number one overall pick. But yeah, 20 years. You're just looking at a lot of other quarterbacks.
There are not many quarterbacks that are picked at number one that are Hall of Famers. There are not many.
Right.
Okay, especially in the last 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Again, there's more recently just because of the quarterback trends, but before that, there was a very.
I guess if Eli's the number one or Phillip Rivers,
right.
whoever way you put him.
Eli's the number one, so we'll count it as Eli.
And
then Peyton Manning, and then that's what you're looking at, and then Matthew Stafford, because you look at since Matthew Stafford's that draft in 2009, a lot of the quarterbacks that were taken number one either weren't good or. Yeah, the case of
Baker Mayfield.
Cam Newton was good, but he was hurt a lot, so he's not going to make the Hall of Fame.
Let's go up and down. Speedy, go look at the top 10 years, the last 10 years, the number one picks, whoever were quarterbacks.
Andrew Luck didn't. Andrew Luck and Cam Newton both got injury issues.
Andrew Luck's not going to Hall of Fame because he didn't play long enough,
and neither is Cam Newton because he had a lot of injury issues as well. So that's going to keep him out. So then you're dealing with 2 years in a row that weren't quarterbacks. So 2013, 2014, 2015 with Jameis Winston. He's not going to go to the Hall of Fame.
No, definitely not.
So 2016 with Jared Goff.
Maybe the Hall of Fame are stealing, crab legs or something.
Yeah. 2016 was Jared Goff. He's not going to go to the Hall of Fame.
He's the Hall of Fame thief. That's what he is.
So then 17 was Myles Garrett. 2018 was Baker Mayfield. He's not going to go to the Hall of Fame.
Nope.
And 2019 is Kyler Murray, who's not on a good track right now.
No.
The way he's behaving.
No.
And getting hurt.
Speaking in a third person, too. So maybe it'll be 3 Kyler Murrays on the field before you know it.
And then 2020 is Joe Burrow, who could be, but we have to see down the road. It's too
Joe
early to
Burrow's
tell.
going to be a Hall of Famer. As long as he stays healthy, Joe Burrow's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Right. And then same thing with Trevor Lawrence. It's just too early
Oh,
to
yeah.
tell.
Trevor Lawrence, if he stays healthy and he keeps moving in the right direction, he could be a Hall of Famer, too. We'll see if he can stay healthy.
Right.
But, it's unusual to see a number one pick go to the Hall of Fame. And Matthew Stafford deserves it. And yes, he will be a Hall of Famer. Is he going to be a first ballot? No. I can't remember where did Stafford go to school. Yeah.
We said Georgia.
We said Georgia. We know. But again, we sit here today, and a lot of people, and listen, Lombardi coming out and saying that, I'm not surprised. What are the Rams getting for Matthew Stafford? What are they trading him for? I mean, right now, Green Bay will be lucky to get a second pick this year and maybe a second pick next year, depending on how the Jets play, if they move Aaron Rodgers. Right. They're not getting a first-round draft pick, and they're not going to get back what they gave up for Matthew Stafford. So why would they do that?
The only reason they would do that is because this is the last year that his salary hit is actually not bad. It's only a salary hit of 19 or 20 million this year because he's only making a base salary.
Who wants him, Speedy?
Yeah, that's the other question.
Who wants him?
I know you're gonna judge a lot of NFC teams that are gonna trade him for probably only a day 3 pick at this point. I think you're only gonna get a 4th round.
They're not going to trade him in the NFC because they don't want to play him.
I don't think they're going to really have that option at this point because there's not a lot of teams because if the Jets get Aaron Rodgers, I mean, a lot of the other teams are either rebuilding in the AFC or have their quarterback set unless Miami decides to make a trade, but I don't think they're going to do it for Stafford. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
It doesn't make sense. I don't know. I don't know why this story is being brought out, but again, I do believe Matthew Stafford deserves a little bit more respect by the Rams. The Rams, he was one of the main reasons why the Rams made it to the Super Bowl with those throws against Tampa Bay and outdueling the great Tom Brady.
But that's the price of the approach that the Rams took, where they didn't have a lot of homegrown players because they didn't have any first or second round picks for a while because they traded him a lot for Jalen Ramsey. They traded him a lot for Leonard Floyd and all these guys that they accumulated, and even trading up in the draft too. Like they traded 2 extra first-round picks to get Jared Goff at the time, too. So they had to do that. They traded a first-round pick for Brandon Cooks, who didn't last very long with the Rams as it was for 2 years. So that was it. So that's the price they have. And now they have 6 different salaries. We talked about it with the Jalen Ramsey trade. They have 6 salaries over $20 million right now.
Yep.
So Stafford is the only one right now of those alleged big contracts that are right now tradable for not having.
I mean, they could trade Cooper Kupp, but why would they do that?
But financially, it doesn't make a lot of sense because Kupp's cap hit is huge. Stafford's cap hit is actually
But
not
you could
huge this year.
You really can't get anything else for more than Matthew Stafford and Aaron Donald. I mean, they could trade Jalen Ramsey. What is teams going to give up for Jalen Ramsey? Jalen Ramsey, the last 2.5 years, has not been the Jalen Ramsey that he was when they made that trade with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, and they give up a lot for Jalen Ramsey. And Jalen Ramsey's making a lot of money.
Right.
So if let's say the Rams try to trade him this offseason, which they're looking to do so, what are they getting for him? They're not getting a first-round draft pick for him.
They'll get a second.
No way. No way.
I think they'll get a second.
No way. No way.
We talked about it yesterday. There's
Third
a lot
round.
of teams that need
Third
corners.
round.
I think
they'll get a third-round draft pick for him. That's all they're going to get for him. They have to remember he's under contract still. So trading that contract, they have to take on that contract, one, and they got to trade something to get him. So I cannot see getting more than a third round pick for Jalen Ramsey. I'm sorry, you can.
Keith says nobody wants Stafford. That's why I don't think the Rams are going to be able to be as stingy as the Packers were. Oh, we're not going to trade him into the NFC.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to have to trade him in the NFC. Any one of those NFC South teams that don't miss out.
Who? Carolina?
Maybe Carolina.
Atlanta?
I mean, I think Atlanta should still try to push.
I mean, he
Lamar
did play
Jackson.
for Georgia.
I know. Maybe Atlanta makes sense as a homecoming. I can see that, but I still think they should try.
Does
to
he
push
have a
for
no
Lamar
trade?
Jackson.
Does he have a no trade clause?
I am not sure. I'll figure that out. But yeah, that would make a lot of sense from the homecoming perspective. But Atlanta really makes no sense why they decided to back out on Lamar Jackson because their scheme is perfect for that kind of thing with Lamar Jackson. So
Baltimore?
I'm surprised with that. Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, Baltimore, him going to Baltimore, if Lamar Jackson's gone, he goes to one of the other teams. I don't know. I mean, there's not many teams out there that is going to make a move for a veteran quarterback that has a back injury and maybe isn't 100%. Now, we'll see what's going to happen. Why this story is coming out and why this is hitting the carousel of quarterbacks that are going to be available is because the trade deadline's right around the corner.
Does not look like he has a no
and
trade
free
clause.
agency.
So does not have a no trade clause.
Okay, so he can be traded.
Mm-hmm.
But how does that make the Rams look? Being that this is a guy that took you all the way to the Super Bowl and won you a Super Bowl, and then all of a sudden, because of 1 year and one injury, he sat out for the season, that you're just giving up on him. When you made that move to give up the amount of picks that you gave up for him 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm. He's an out after the 2026 season, and this is the last year that he's on a pretty reasonable cap hit, $20 million, and then next year $49.5 million. And
Well, that's why they're talking about it.
Right.
Well, they
exactly
can restructure that.
If they don't trade him, that's what'll happen.
Yeah, they have to restructure it, but the Rams have put themselves in cap hell because of the Aaron Donald thing, the Jalen Ramsey thing. Aaron Donald should have possibly retired last year. He had an off year this year. No, he's still a dominant player, and anybody would take Aaron Donald right now. Anybody would line up for Aaron Donald. The Jets, the Giants, anybody, the Patriots would take Aaron Donald on. He is that good of a player. Who do we have on the phone, Speedy?
We got Jeff.
Jeff, what's up, man?
You guys, it's obvious why they want to get rid of Stafford. It's obvious. I don't it baffles me that you don't understand it. They sold their soul to win a Super Bowl. They did. And now it's time to pay the piper, right? You can't keep everyone. And maybe not only would they be doing the team a solid by unloading him, they'd be doing him a solid because the Rams aren't going to be able to compete for quite a number of years, right? And by the time they are ready to compete, Matthew Stafford will be injured again or old or whatever, and then they'll be looking for a quarterback. And the compensation that they would get back for him doesn't matter. They're clearing the decks, and they would get an asset in return. That's what it is, dude. And you're also missing an obvious team landing spot for him that is a team that is ready to win and kind of a quarterback away. How about Washington?
Yeah,
they have good receivers. They have good receivers and things there. They're kind of a quarterback away from really competing. Are they a Super Bowl team? Who knows? But they would be. Look, if the Jets got Aaron Rodgers, how different is it if the Commanders get Matthew Stafford. They're kind of on even ground there. And if you think the Jets are a contender if they get Rodgers, the Commanders are a contender if they get Stafford.
Keith says the Rams wanted a Super Bowl, got it, and now they're going to suck. Well, yeah, Keith and Jeff. That's what
I don't know if they're going to suck. Now, if they figure out what's wrong with their offensive line, they still have a pretty good team. They have Aaron Donald come back. If they bring Jalen Ramsey back, if they don't move him, this is still a pretty good team. Practically the same team that went to the Super Bowl, if they could figure out what's wrong with that offensive line. That offensive line has fallen apart. But this offseason, they can add some free agents to the line. They do have picks this year. I'm pretty sure they do.
They don't have a first, but they do have
They have a second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth. They can rebuild that offensive line to youth and young players. I think they should ride it on for at least one more year with Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford, you're not going to get a lot back for him right now because he didn't have a season last year. Maybe you play him this year. You see what you have. He'll be 36 next year. If he shows that he can still be a pretty decent quarterback, throws 3,700 yards or close to 4,000 and 20 some odd touchdowns with Cooper Kupp healthy, then you have something to trade. Maybe you can get some pieces back for a guy Matthew Stafford. Not right now.
Would you say that the Rams are basically in a rebuilding mode?
I don't think so. No. How are they going to rebuild? Why did Sean McVay decide to come back? He could have left. He could have left.
But this is how they would rebuild.
What are they getting back for him?
Anything, it doesn't matter. It's another piece to fill a hole and you're clearing the decks. This whole idea of restructuring contracts, by the way, you need to start looking at restructuring contracts like buying something with a credit card. Okay, you swipe the card. There's no cash exchange. You just get it, and you have to pay for it later. So every time you restructure a contract, it just drags out that cap hit. Where if they just cut bait now, they're clearing the decks and resetting their cap structure so the rebuild can happen quicker. That's why teams let these people go. So they can clear that's how the time with Tom Brady ended in New England. The cap hit at the end. Dude, when he first left, they couldn't afford another quarterback because of the dead cap space. Tom Brady was still eating up on their roster. And Stafford doesn't have much more left in the tank. So if they want to rebuild quicker, it's time to start to cut bait with some of these players. Eat the cap hit now to save themselves later.
It also could be the sense of, because he's a quarterback, too, the quarterback desperation of teams that lose out on a potential Lamar Jackson or any other fallbacks that come from that, too. And Keith says Washington does make sense. I could see that kind of thing, too, because they've been starving for so long. Now, granted, they've tried other veteran quarterbacks in the past, too, and it hasn't worked, but still, it's something that...
I mean, are we really considering Carson Wentz a veteran quarterback and giving it an honest chance? I mean, are we doing that?
I'm not qualifying Carson Wentz as the homegrown, but also they've tried trades too, like Carson Wentz, like we were saying with Alex Smith before too. They've tried it in those instances because the Commanders have been so bad at drafting quarterbacks in the 21st century. So it makes a lot of sense.
But
and the same kind of thing we said with the Falcons and the Panthers and these teams that are trying for Lamar Jackson. Not everybody's going to get him. So that leaves another opening where there's a sense of urgency potentially. And that might help his value a little, but I don't know. On the base, it might not be more than a 4th round pick.
I mean, but all of the guys they've tried to do it with are all the inferior guys, right? Like Carson Wentz. We know he's a bum, but they gave it a shot. Heineke stinks. I think Fitzpatrick was in there for a year or two or whatever.
He was there for last year, then he got hurt.
Right, like every guy that they've gotten has been a bum. Stafford would be a bona fide solid replacement given health, right? And obviously that's a question, but you put a halfway decent offensive line in front of them, which Washington has, you could be cooking with something there.
That's one of their weaknesses. They still have to rebuild that, but they have pretty much everything else on the offensive side. Defensively, they need some help in the secondary and linebackers, but they have a good.
Yeah, but they're not very far away.
I don't know. I'm not saying that. I think they have just as much talent. I think they have just as much talent, if not more, than the Giants do. And the Giants
have more talent than the Giants.
And the Giants
they have
playoffs,
They have a very good running back in Brian Robinson, even though he's Alabama alum. That's whatever, right? But Terry McLaurin's a very good receiver. I think is it Curtis Samuel that's on the other side.
He might be a cap casualty, but if he's still there, yeah.
Right, but wouldn't even matter. I think who's
they have the kid from Penn State.
Yeah. No, the kid from North Carolina is it Diami?
Oh, Diami Brown, yeah.
Yeah. He's there as well, who's getting better and better. You know, so like they have receivers there that are pretty good. They're kind of ready to take that next step. They're just kind of a quarterback away.
Again, if I was the Rams and seeing that Sean McVay decided to come back, there were stories coming out that he was going to walk away and that he was going to take a year off, realizing that this team doesn't have much of a future because of him, because they needed to win that Super Bowl, because ownership wanted it so bad because it was in LA. I believe McVay was going to walk away, take that Amazon contract as a broadcaster for a year or two, and then maybe take a job and ruin another team. But nevertheless, I think Matthew Stafford.
Ruin a team, he won a Super Bowl.
Well, good for him. So, wait a second. Matthew Stafford won a Super Bowl. Everybody's just throwing him away. Goodbye, Matt.
I'm not.
Thank you.
I'm not.
Thank you.
I'm not. Go Bulldogs.
I'm just saying. This is a guy that deserves an opportunity to see what he has left in the tank. If this team is going to come back, Aaron Donald's coming back. Now, Bobby Wagner, they parted ways with Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner did not fit with the Rams last year. He had a good season, but he wasn't what he was with Seattle. Now you're hearing he might go back to Seattle. So there's a story coming out of Seattle that they're going to try to make a move to bring him back. I still sit here today, and I don't care what anybody says. I believe Matthew Stafford still has gas in the tank. I don't know how bad the back is. And maybe as we see this offseason and what the Rams do in this draft, we'll know if they're moving on from Matthew Stafford or they're going to build around Matthew Stafford this year to make another run. I don't know. The NFC stinks. So to say that the Rams don't have a chance to make it to the Super Bowl next year, the only team they have to really worry about, the two teams that you have to worry about year in and year out for the next couple of years is Philadelphia, because they're loaded when it comes to youth and draft stock. And number two, San Francisco, because even though you don't know who their quarterback's going to be next year, it won't be Brock Purdy because he might be out for the whole season next year. And is it going to be Trey Lance? I don't know. So that's the only thing
I mean, what a ridiculous list. Do you really mean to tell me that you don't think the Dallas Cowboys have a shot?
No, I don't.
They're already practicing the best way.
And I don't think I know everybody's going to blame.
Let's give a shout out to Nathan, by the way. EJ Perry, the newest member of the Houston Texans.
Screw the second overall pick. We're riding with EJ Perry.
Nathan's taking pictures with, Saquon Barkley on a golf course and posting.
I mean, how great is it that people pump that dude up and he is already on his fourth NFL team?
And by people, we mean Nathan.
He just knew his cousin, and that's why he blew him up. That's all.
Yeah. The great Brown University. And I love Brown. I lived in Providence. I went to a bunch of games there. It's a fun place to go see a football game. Dude, Brown, stop mentioning Ivy League quarterbacks like they're a thing. Ryan Fitzpatrick was like, their great white whale. And that happened once. And now never again in our lifetimes will we ever see an Ivy League quarterback play.
The great white whale. The great white whale from Yale. There you go.
Well, he didn't go to Yale. He went to Harvard.
Harvard, whatever. Same thing to me.
It's not.
It's the same thing. They're both top
not.
collegiate schools. They're from the same area, right? Are they? They're from the same area?
No, they're not.
They're not in Connecticut.
No, Harvard's Massachusetts.
No, they're not. Okay. Harvard's in Boston.
Well, Connecticut, Boston. I mean, same area, right?
No, it's not. Harvard's in Boston, and Yale is close to that trash town, New York City.
They're both right in the same vicinity. I mean, how far are they from each other?
2 hours?
Less than 2 hours, man.
No, it's like 2 hours.
There's no way they're 2 hours apart. Because
it's
when I was driving,
it's an hour from Providence to Boston. Trust me, I live there, and it's like an hour and 15 minutes to get to New Haven.
Okay, so they're an hour and a half apart from one another. That's not far.
No, would be 2 hours.
Oh God,
an hour from.
I'm not going to argue with you on how the distance between Yale and Harvard. I don't care, honestly. They're both collegiate top schools. So same as Princeton, great schools, the best, and Cornell is another one that everybody talks about. Top collegiate
Cornell
schools.
stinks.
It's a good school. It's a good collegiate school.
Great, awesome.
A lot of lawyers go there.
Oh wow, a lot of lawyers go there.
What was wrong with you? Why does everything have to be an argument with you? I mean, really, seriously, we're in conversation about something. I say something, and you want to attack
Cornell
it.
stinks. It's in New York.
Good,
It's a bum school.
good. Everything in New York stinks. But how about Boston? How
I'm
much?
glad that
How
you
much?
agree.
How
I'm glad
much in
that you agree.
Boston stinks? How much in
Nothing.
Boston?
We got Harvard, the best
get out of
school.
here.
We got
Get outta
Harvard,
here.
the best school.
Yeah, the best.
We got
school.
we got the Bruins, the best hockey team.
Yeah, the best hockey.
We got
team.
the Patriots, the NFL team with the most Lombardi trophies.
Congratulations. And they don't. Pittsburgh does.
They're tied.
Yeah,
they're tied. Good for you.
yeah, but they don't. They're not. They're not singled
Right,
out as number one.
so they're tied for they're tied for the most.
All right, so there you go. They're not number one. So there you go. So stop
They
saying
are number one.
No, they're
Team
not.
one.
Pittsburgh
That's number
is
one. Where are the
Pittsburgh.
Jets ranked?
I don't care where the Jets are ranked. What does this have anything to do with the Jets? I'm not even bringing up the Jets.
Because they're in that trash city.
Oh, they're in a trash city. Okay, and Boston's a trash city too. And I can't
No,
stand.
we have a lot of the best things. The
Good,
Bruins, are they the best?
good, and they have
Harvard,
a bunch
are
of
they the
terrible,
Patriots have the most Super Bowls. They're the best.
anti-Semitic, racist people over there. Okay, so I don't want to get into it. Yes. Now,
Well, at least we're not throwing things at players like you mouth breathing New Yorkers.
yeah, you're doing other things like pissing all over everybody over there. On the
Who's
city.
ever pissed on someone?
Do you want me to? I don't want to get into it, but there are.
Yeah, now we know what you're into.
There are. Shut up, Jeff. Shut up. Anyways, Kevin Durant suffers a grade 2 ankle sprain in warm-ups. Could miss the rest of the regular season. I don't think this is a bad thing. I mean, they made the move for Kevin Durant for the playoffs. Kevin Durant is a great playoff player. If anybody could miss the rest of the season and go into the playoffs with a team that good when it comes to Phoenix, it's Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant really wants to buy a championship, and that's what he did when he decided and pushed his way out of Brooklyn to go to Phoenix. I still feel that Phoenix is the favorite to come out of the Western Conference. It's crazy when you watch the video when he slipped. It didn't look that bad. When he got up and he walked to the sidelines, and then everybody said he wasn't playing in his first home game, which everybody was, praising him and all that other stuff. They were getting ready to put up a video of him welcoming him into Phoenix. I was just shocked when I heard he was out for the rest of the season. He had an MRI today. So they say it's a sprain, but a high ankle sprain. So tough luck for Kevin Durant. It is tough luck.
Yeah, and if you're Phoenix, you got to hold them out as long as you
Yeah,
can.
absolutely.
Yeah, you have to play this cautiously. If you're a 4 seed, you can live with
It
being a
doesn't
4
matter.
seed.
It doesn't matter.
We've seen plenty of 3 seeds, plenty of 4 seeds in the Western Conference since the Warriors, I guess, quote unquote, dynasty in when Durant was there. Since then, we've seen the Lakers make it as a bubble 3 seed or whatever it was. Golden State last year was a 3 seed, and then Phoenix was a 2 seed, but they were a surprise team. They were a new team coming into the playoffs, and they were kind of thought of as underdogs. Remember, everyone was picking the Lakers against them. And then Milwaukee last year, when they won the championship, was a 3 seed as well. It doesn't really matter as much being the 1 seed as it used to. Look at a team like Philadelphia. They've been the 1 seed a lot, and they've lose in the playoffs. It doesn't really make a difference. So protect Kevin Durant as long as you can. Yes, Keith, the seed doesn't matter at all in the West. Yeah, and that's what we're getting at. Kevin Durant has to be healthy for the playoffs because Chris Paul, he's still a great player, but he hasn't been the same overall scorer. And DeAndre Ayton, he's had some duds in the playoffs recently. So can you really trust him? Durant and Booker are the 2 guys you really need to have is from a scoring perspective.
But I think this is a bad injury for them. Like these guys aren't going to have any time to play together, to gel, to get to know each other's games on the court, and before the playoffs, that could be really bad for them.
It could. And it didn't really bother the Brooklyn Nets when he missed pretty much the whole season. It wasn't the reason why they lost, the Brooklyn Nets. It was Kyrie Irving's play in the first round. If you remember.
Well, he got body bagged by the defensive player of the year.
Yeah, but nevertheless, it was Kyrie Irving's play. It wasn't Kevin Durant. Right. Kevin Durant was playing great basketball. So I'm not worried about Kevin Durant missing the rest of the season because they have Devin Booker, they have Chris Paul, they have Ayton. They have good players, and they'll probably get in as a 4 seed or a 3 seed. It doesn't matter. The Western Conference is so wide open, and the only team they really have to worry about, in my eyes, in the Western Conference is the Nuggets. That's it. I don't think there's any other team that I believe. The Grizzlies, you don't know what's going to happen with Ja Morant, and when Ja Morant comes back, is his head going to be in the game of basketball right now with everything that's gone on and off the court? So. I doubt it. So
I still think losing to Reed is a tough blow. Anytime that you lose a second team All NBA power forward, it's not good for your team.
I'm not saying that it is, but if Kevin Durant comes back 100% healthy for the playoffs, I don't think it's going to make a difference. I really don't. Carlos Rodon suffers a left forearm injury in his first spring training start. Will likely miss the first month of the season, which they're saying he could be back the last week of April. If the Yankees are smart, they push it off to the beginning of May. I don't think this is a big deal. Okay. It does hurt you because you're losing a guy that he was your big acquisition in the offseason, a guy that you expect to be a big pitcher for your team, a left-handed power pitcher, one of the best left-handed pitchers in baseball, and then losing him for a month, and then he's going to have his spring training, so it'll be 2 weeks. So that's why I think he'll be back in May. I think the Yankees have to be very careful with this because this is a guy that obviously at his UCL, he had Tommy Johns. You want to be very careful with his elbow and his shoulder. It is his throwing arm. So the Yankees got to take this slow. I think you'll be fine. I know a lot of Yankee fans are all over social media. They're worried about this. Everything that I've read, it's not a big deal. It wasn't such a bad strain, but being that the Yankees spent a lot of money this offseason, and they didn't, for a pitcher that good, they didn't have to give up a lot. $27 million. It was a bargain, but they got to protect him, being that he is their prize acquisition. What were you going to say, Jeff?
Can I?
Yeah,
I know that you think that I bash the Yankees.
Go ahead.
And just take shots. I want to ask an honest question.
Honestly, go ahead.
To me, it seems like a concern.
Okay.
What is it with the Yankees medical staff and not being able to help people with their arms? The Severino thing was dragged out. The kid from Oakland, blanking on his name.
Frankie Montas. Yeah.
Frankie Montas. And they couldn't diagnose that arm injury. And now Rodon. This doesn't feel like a coincidence that the Yankees medical staff doesn't know how to treat their pitchers with arm injuries.
I don't know. It happened in the game. And obviously he felt a pull. That's what I read. He felt a pull. The Yankees took him off the mound as soon as he felt that. He said when they took him off the mound and they interviewed Carlos Rodon, he said it wasn't in his eyes a concern of his. He's had this situation happen before, obviously when he played in Chicago. Now the question is, where did the Yankees see this injury to be? Where did they grade it? They didn't come out with a grade, but Aaron Boone said today that it's not a concern. They're trying to protect him. They have a full season to worry about this, and they want to make sure that he is ready when they need him as the season progressively moves forward and it gets a little bit warmer outside. So
doesn't that feel like the company line? Don't you feel like you're being fed the company line? Because these are the exact words they gave you both times Severino had his arm.
I knew there was something wrong with Frankie Montas when he came here. Okay, I knew.
But I'm mentioning the Severino thing. They're just parroting the same thing they said with Severino. And that wasn't right for, 3 years? How long was that going on?
2 years. It was 2 years. He came back in the middle of the third year. And
so 3 years, yeah, right. So it was like a 3-year process.
Well, he first hurt his shoulder. He had shoulder.
They just keep shoveling you the same old bullshit, is what it feels like.
Well, this is a big year for a guy like Severino. So now Severino moves into possibly the number 2 spot, and Cortez moves to the 3 spot. I don't know where they put him, but this is a year that Severino's going to expect a contract in the offseason. If he wants to be a Yankee, he's going to have to show up. So
if Nestor's your number 2, who's your number 1?
You know who the number 1 is. Garrett Cole is the number 1.
He's going to be in. Did they legalize spider tack again?
Shut up. God. Did you not listen to Michael McHenry?
I would have him.
Did you not listen to the Michael McHenry? Did you not hear the interview?
I missed it.
Well, I think you need to re-listen to it. Michael McHenry made a joke. He made a joke. No, because he made a joke about spider tap because resin has been around for years and it's been sticky for years. And he said for anybody to think that Garrett Cole, the reason why Garrett Cole was great or is great because of spider tap is out of their damn minds. He pretty much, Sweetie, did he not say that? Mm-hmm. He said, you're out of your mind. This guy is as good a pitcher as anybody in baseball. and it's not even an argument or question. He said that, and he actually catched behind. He knows who he is and the type of pitcher that he is. So to sit here and say there was a lot of pitchers that used all different things. He says for years they used resin and the sticky stuff, and they use their crotch. They put things in their pants and use their crap in their ass when they were reaching. And he says they've put so much stuff on the ball. To think that it was just Spider Tap and Garrett Cole, the only person that was doing it, is selfish and ridiculous. Okay, so
no one's saying that he was the only one. I would never make such an accusation.
It wasn't that made him great.
You're correct. People put on that. What's the sunblock? The bullfrog. The bullfrog with the rosin bag.
That's bug spray.
Yeah. Oh, is it bug spray? I thought it was like right. But the bullfrog spray, and then you put the rosin out with the rosin bag, and it creates a similar substance, right? I would never accuse him of being the only one. But he is the only one that got significantly worse when they took it away.
And then he got better because as we saw the season progressively move forward, he was playing better. So again, I'm not sitting here and arguing with you. And he didn't. He gave up the most home runs in baseball this year. He also struck out more than anybody by a large margin this year.
So he's the pitching version of Joey Gallo. It's either a strikeout or a home run.
Joey Gallo, how many home runs did he hit this year, bud?
How many? Much more once he left New York.
How many home runs did he hit this year?
I don't know,
this past
15,
year?
16.
Okay, and he struck out a lot more than he hit of home runs. So
right,
that's
but
ridiculous.
The only time he ever got a hit was when he hit a home run, and then it was either a home run or a strikeout.
Jeff,
so he's like, so Garrett Cole's the pitching version of Joey Gallo, where he either strikes out or hits a home
run. And stop comparing Joey Gallo to a guy like Garrett Cole, who's one of the best pitchers.
I think it's very comparable.
No, he's not. He's a top 5 pitcher in baseball to a guy that you wouldn't even put in top 100 of your roster.
I think it's very comparable because they both.
Of course you do. Of course you do, because he's a Yankee.
19 home runs last year and 157 strikeouts.
Right, which is probably like
games.
Right, which is probably his lowest career output too. Isn't he like a regularly 30 home run guy?
He was 41-40. He had 22 in 2019, so that was pretty low. He only played in 70 games though. So yeah, that was his lowest in the 120 plus game season because he played 126 total games that year.
Right, but he's generally like a 30 home run guy.
Right, 41-40 in 2017 and 2018. Before that, he didn't play any full seasons, and then 2019 was the first year since then he didn't play a full season because he was hurt.
And the Yankee fans did not wreck Joey Gallo. Snug, stop. He was wrecked in Texas.
They wrecked a lot of players.
He was wrecked in Texas. He was wrecked in Texas, man.
He was hitting home runs in Texas.
That's great. He was hitting home runs. He was batting 200. Good for him. Congratulations to Joey Gallo. What?
Same as he did with the Yankees.
He sucked for the Yankees too. He sucked everywhere he goes. And the fact that he was the only reason why he was an all-star because he was a Gold Glove outfielder. That's why he's a great outfielder.
People also made him an all-star because they love 500-foot bombs, and that's what he can hit.
Oh yeah, popularity contest. We're not saying he's actually that all-star caliber player, but that being said, his defense did get a lot better though since the last 3 years. Like he was a god awful defender at third, and then with the Rangers too, the first 4 years of career, he was god awful in left field. So it's only when they moved him to right field in 2019.
He figured things out.
He figured it out, and then he won Gold Glove in the short season.
You know what's even crazier too? When he have 19 home runs last year or something like that?
19 home runs.
Imagine how many less home runs he would have hit if the Yankees weren't getting Goldilocks balls. He would have hit like 5 home runs.
Oh my
he was
God!
Also traded,
with
but he was
Goldilocks balls
too,
again.
Jeff.
Jesus.
So he didn't really get to deal with them as much because Aaron Judge's home run chase, the Goldilocks balls, when they were allegedly
Goldilocks balls,
they were only started to be used late in June. It wasn't the whole season. So Joey Gallo barely got any.
They only used the balls because he was breaking the home run record. He was there. They started using at the end of really when he had almost 50 home runs. They started using different balls. When he was about to break, he had 10 or 12
so you're
more
acknowledging that they did cheat that.
But it wasn't the whole season.
Wasn't a Yankee.
It wasn't the whole season, and Aaron Judge had 50 home runs before they changed the balls.
But it wasn't the whole season. I only took 4 cycles of steroids, but it wasn't the whole season.
Jeff, I don't remember what the total, but it was over 50 home runs when they started using different balls. I think it was between 50 and 55 when they started using these balls because they were going to use it for the Hall of Fame, and you knew it was a special ball. If they caught it, they can sell it to the Yankees or sell it to baseball. So they were not using Goldilocks balls the whole season.
They were using for quite a while.
No, they weren't.
It was only half the season. It only started when Aaron Judge
It wasn't
had the
even half
pace.
the season.
And it was only when Aaron Judge started to have the pace that was
It wasn't half the season. They brought it. First of all, they were not changing the balls, in June. It happened at the end of the season, the last month of baseball, when he had 50 or 51 home runs when they started changing the balls and baseball was doing it. Go look it up. I know that for a fact. Jeff. It wasn't in June. It wasn't in July. It was like at the end of August, September, they were doing it.
And Jeff, the Dodgers had Joey Gallo when they started using it. It wasn't the Yankees, so he didn't even get.
It's ridiculous. They were not using those balls all season long because nobody thought he was going to break it. It's ridiculous. It really is. Okay? You want to say that he used it for his last 5 or 6 home runs and he was in a slump and that's why baseball probably did it? Fine. That might be true.
Well, you're downplaying because they used it longer.
No, they didn't.
That's okay.
No, they
Even
didn't.
so,
No,
Joey
they
Gallo
didn't.
was
Go
not a
look it up.
Yankee.
They did not. I looked that up. I know for a fact they did not use it in June. They did not use it in July. They used it at the end of August. He had over 50 home runs. I think it was between 50 and 55 home runs when they started changing the balls. That's when baseball was trying to do it. They had these special balls that every time Aaron Judge was coming up, the catcher had like 4 different balls he was handed to. I know that for a fact. And for anybody to say that he was hitting Goldilocks balls in June, including Speedy, is an idiot. Okay? That's all I'm going to say. That's stupid. It's ridiculous. And Snug, you could say whatever you want. Go look it up. I know that for a fact because I remember when Jeff brought it up and I was looking it up when baseball started doing it. Baseball did it after 50 home runs. And that's a fact. Go look it up. I'll bet you money, Snug. You want to put some money on the line on that? I'll put money on that because I know that for a fact. It was not in June. Definitely not in June. Baseball starts in when? When's it start? April, May, June. So in June, he had what? 25 home runs. All of a sudden, they changed it to Goldilocks balls. Ridiculous. They had no recollection or thought that he was going to hit 60 some odd home runs this year. That's ridiculous. Okay? And I'm sorry, not true. That is completely not. When's the All-Star game?
July 15th.
July 15th. They were not doing that in July before the All-Star game. So that's a lie. It's all a lie.
And Joey Gallo got traded by the Yankees to the Dodgers probably a week later from the All-Star game. So Jeff, the Goldilocks balls come out whenever they ended up starting. It was a Dodger. So once the Yankees played against the Dodgers,
it's
I don't
terrible.
think they did. They wouldn't have had that kind of.
And I'm not. Listen, I am not sitting here and saying, "Oh, Aaron Judge should be a Yankee for life," because I was one of the guys that said the Yankees should have let him go. Okay, I would have never given him $350 million, being that he's 31 years old, going to be 32, and he's 280 pounds, 6'7", 6'8", and athletically gifted, but is probably going to break down in the next 3 or 4 years. And then you have to pay him for the next 5 or 6 years for being a DH, something they're doing right now for who? Giancarlo Stanton. It doesn't make sense. But again, I'm not taking shots at it because the Yankees have one of the best players in baseball. I just think it was too much. They better win a championship with it or it was a waste of money. Speaking of Aaron Judge, reportedly turned down an offer for $50 million more to go to the Padres in order to return to the Yankees this offseason. This is an interesting story, and it just shows you the Padres, for some reason, over the last 2.5 seasons, are spending ridiculous money. This is where I want to come in, and I have questions to ask the Padres owner. Where is he? I understand he's a billionaire. Where is he getting the money to relinquish the money that he's putting into these players? He's not getting with the fans. They haven't sold out. When was the last time they sold out a game? They had problems filling the stadium all season long. I think they're ranked 27th or 28th when it comes
They were
to
20th this year in attendance. And they're 27th in the last 5 years.
I mean, it's horrible. It's horrible. How are they going to pay these players? They just play Bogarts. What, $250 million?
It was 11 years, 280, and
$280 million.
That's a long contract for an older guy.
That's a lot of money that you're throwing to players. You gave Manny Machado 11 years, $350 million. You're probably going to pay Soto if you don't let him go to free agency. You're probably going to pay him. That's three. I know what you're going to say, Jeff. You have a guy who you paid $300 some million. The shortstop who got caught with steroids. Tatis. And it's an affordable contract. Great. You have legitimately, if you pay Soto, you're going to have 4 or 5 players making close to $300 million or more. And I'm sorry, if you're not selling out games like the Yankees, like the Red Sox, like the big teams all over the country, not even the Dodgers sell it. But here's the thing. The Dodgers have more than one owner running that organization, billionaires running that organization. So money is no object to them. The Padres have done nothing. They've won nothing. They've never been to a World Series, except once against the Yankees in '98. Kem Caminiti, I remember that. They have not done anything as an organization. How the hell are you affording to go out there and spend the money that you have on these players? I'm sorry, there's no answer that can really explain any of this to me. And they're going to have problems. If they give Soto $500 million, which he is going to request, he deserves, he's going to get it. What are they going to do when it comes down to this team isn't good enough? Just not. And they're just not. You can have all the best players. You know this, Jeff. You can have sensational players on a squad, and you still can't win. You still can't win. So what happens when that happens, Jeff? Could you answer that question?
You rambled on there. What's the exact question now?
The Padres gave up their future for Soto, did they not?
Not really.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did.
No, they really didn't.
Oh,
They still have good pitching. They just locked up Joe Musgrove. They still have some other good players, right? I'm gonna get his name wrong. It's the Korean guy,
Ho-Sung Kim.
Ho-Sung Kim. He's still a very good player. Yeah, right. He's still a good player. They still have some other like journeyman guys on that team, like Will Myers, who's still a pretty good player. They have some good players. It's not like Bogarts is super old. He'll be old at the end of the contract, but Bogarts is 31, so he's good for another 6, 7, 8 years. They're good for a while, and they're going to end up trading Tatis. They're going to try to play him and then try to unload him because they're going to re-sign Soto to unload one of those contracts. And they're not really paying any of their pitchers any kind of money. The guys with the big pitching contracts are like Garrett Cole, Chris Sale, Rodon, DeGrom. The Padres don't have any high-priced pitchers. They can afford this. Well, and it's just another thing to highlight. These greedy piece of shit owners always crying poverty. They have money to pay people. They do. They have money to pay people. And that's why everyone is upset at the Padres, because they're supposed to be a small market team and they're outspending a lot of people. They have the money to do it.
This story for Aaron Judge, I think this is if you're a Yankee fan, you should be happy that he decided not to go to the Padres. That he decided to take $50 million less. And I respect Aaron Judge for doing that. But as a player and as a person that's trying to build his wealth, that was a stupid move by Aaron Judge. $50 million that he just lost staying with the Yankees. I understand the Yankees, being that you're the captain of the team and you were told you were going to be the captain and that you're the face of the Yankees and you're one of the faces of baseball. It's great when you decide to be in pinstripes for the rest of your career. Here's the problem here. You're a player that is expected to bring home a championship now. And if you don't, and even though you're making the money that you're making, you don't bring home a championship, you're going to be looked at and compared to who? The captain, captain,
guy.
Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter at least brought home how many championships as the captain of the team? If he doesn't bring home one and he got $350 million, even if he took $50 million less, he's going to be looked as a failure. And to me,
he didn't really take $50 million less. He took like $10 million.
No,
$50 million.
Total guaranteed money. He took $55 million left because baseball contracts are all guaranteed.
Okay, asshole. All right, I get it.
12
$50
versus
million
9-year
total
deal.
money. Right. This is where you're actually retarded. The two of you. Actual
Here he goes. Here he goes. The Muppet is back.
No. Yeah, you guys are fucking Muppets because this is the actual math, right?
He's in Banana Land now. Banana Land.
$50 million total money. No,
there it is.
Okay, now do it with the California tax rate, dummy. So in actual dollars he receives, it'll only be like $10 million.
Hold on one second. So you're telling me if somebody makes $55 million after taxes they're making 10, what are you on drugs? Go look that up.
No, because the tax rate, first of all, it's $55 million over a number of years. and he's in such a high tax bracket, and the tax percentages in California are so high. You think New York is ridiculous? The taxes in California are outrageous.
I
That's why a lot
understand
of
that,
people are
Jeff.
leaving that state. So it's not really $50 million. Like, it's $50 million to you because you just talk a number out of the air. But when you do the math of the aggravation of selling his property in New York, moving out there, buying property in San Diego, which, by the way, isn't cheap, right? Like, and then the tax rate, he wasn't really giving up $50 million.
Okay, so he wasn't giving up 50 mil. Okay, he was giving up 20 million. Okay, he's still
right.
All right, still making $30 million. That 30 million is 30 million, Jeff.
Right. So to play with the Yankees over the Padres, who don't have a great track record, it's probably worth not having that aggravation.
I don't know, because you're pressured now to win a championship. And if you don't in the next 9 years, you're going to be looked as a failure. You're going to be compared.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be a failure. He's definitely going to be a failure. 100%. He needed Goldilocks balls to break a home run.
Stop this. Stop this.
Would you like me to, because you were like, I dare you, look it up. Would you like me to send you the chart that says the Yankees were using them since June?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, do it. Send me the chart.
I'm good. Well, give me a second, dude. Chill out. You keep going. Go ahead, do it.
Well, because we only have a few minutes left of the show. We're actually over time. So send me the chart, because I don't believe it.
Snuck says the sales tax rate in San Diego is
11%.
north of 11%. The other thing we don't know is what it'll be down the road for the entire length.
So
of the
Speedy,
contract,
go look
too.
that up. $55 million and do the sales tax. And how much did he give up?
All right, so it'd be $55 million allegedly over 3 years.
Yes, for 11%.
55 times 0.11. So it's 6 on its own. So it's a combined 18.15 million.
So it's 20 million. It's 20
right.
million.
So it's 20 million he wouldn't get just because of the taxes, dude.
So you're losing.
And no. It's 20 million more. But now also take into account the extra that he's still losing, even if it was equal money. He would almost be making the same either way.
No, it'd still be a net loss technically of 37 point whatever with the decimal, whatever that is. But it's still going to be, in terms of 3 years, that span of the guaranteed money. Now, obviously, the average annual value is still more the Yankees.
Right, but hold on, Speedy. Hold on. If he makes, just say $1 million, rather than 50s or 100 or whatever, he makes $1 million in San Diego versus $1 million in New York. How much does he lose off that million?
So what's the tax rate in New York? Because I don't know that offhand. So it's 11 times a million is, let's see, 11 with 1 million.
Right, because it doesn't matter what it is.
110,000. So it'd be minus 110,000 allegedly.
Right. So but this is what I'm saying though, is even if it was equal dollars, he got offered 50 in San Diego, he got offered 50 in New York, right? If it was equal, he would still be working at such a deficit in California that so the equal dollars, he'd still need some of that 50 million just to come up to equal that money, and then everything over that would be taxed. It's not as big of a gap as you think it is.
All right, so the New York one is 4.5%, so he'd be losing only 45,000 in comparison to 110,000 per each million.
Right. So for every 100,000, he gets to keep 60 rather than 40.
And Keith says he will make more money being a Yankee with commercials and etc. That's not true. You're in San Diego. San Diego. Have you lived in San Diego? Do you know the TV deals, the commercial dealers, and stuff like that? It's a beautiful place, and I think he'll make just as much money over there in San Diego. You have to win here to be in commercials.
I think.
You have to win here. How many commercials have you seen Aaron Judge in, except the one that I saw over the last, year?
Not only that, that's San Diego's only pro team.
He's gonna have to win.
So they're gonna have to.
Right, but
they're gonna market that more because New York has like 9 other teams.
I think that the idea of him making more money through endorsements and things like that being in New York is way off. I think that is a very 1980s kind of thing, because the way social media is and television deals, whatever, everything's national now.
Yeah.
That used to be the case in the 80s when markets,
I would agree.
You couldn't reach several markets. You get more deals. he's going to get the same deals because they're just national deals now.
Mhm.
There's no extra money being in New York for advertise. I mean, if that was the case, why is Mike Trout the face of baseball?
Right.
Mhm.
He's on at 10 o'clock every night. No one stays up that late to see him, but yet he's still the face. So the idea that you're going to make more in New York in endorsements, that's such an outdated thing.
I would agree with you. That's something I would agree with you. It doesn't matter anymore where you're going to play. You're going to get the endorsements. If you're a superstar player and you're winning, you're going to get your contracts. I was in Toronto, and that's a place it's very big with hockey. So every other commercial was Connor McDavid, and it was
Matthews.
No, it was what's his name again?
Mitch Marner?
No, it was Horvat. Bo Horvat and Connor McDavid were all over the commercials. All over the commercials. When I was like, why is Bo Horvat? He was on a beer commercial. Bo Horvat and McDavid were on a commercial. They were on some some other stupid thing that they were doing, some locks commercial, like key locks and stuff. Both of them, they were puck handling locks and stuff like that. I mean, they were on every other commercial. So when you're a star over there, if you're a hockey player or something like that, and you're that guy, you're going to be on every other commercial. McDavid's making a ton of money in Canada, ton off of commercials and endorsements.
This is not to discredit Aaron Judge, because I don't want to do that. That's not what this is about. But if you were to say who are the 5 biggest faces of baseball, like in order, who would they be?
What, in baseball?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like 5 to 1. If you could rank them 5 to 1, who do you think are like the 5 people in baseball?
The top faces, I would say Aaron Judge,
Yes.
number 1.
You think he's the top face?
Right now.
I wouldn't even have him there. Aaron Judge wouldn't even be close.
I have Aaron Judge as my number 1, and not just because I'm a Yankee fan, because he's 6'8", because he's a power hitter, because of who he is.
I mean, but there's another obvious answer.
Ohtani.
So Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani.
Right. Aaron Judge doesn't have worldwide appeal. Shohei Ohtani does. So Aaron Judge, it's impossible for him to be number 1. Impossible. Ohtani is global. Judge is New York.
How about this? Go look who sold the most jerseys last year in baseball.
Right, because Yankees people eat up merchandise, and that's fine. But he's not
Yankees people worldwide.
I mean, come on, dude.
It's true.
I mean, when it is true, they are a worldwide brand, but Aaron Judge isn't.
You're playing for the biggest sports team in the world, and you're playing, and you're 6'8", and you're a powerhouse hitter. You're going to be your biggest star. I'm sorry, he was.
I mean, he's not. Ohtani is like the
Ohtani's there too. You can argue Ohtani is there too.
Ohtani, Trout, like those guys.
Trout's not even up there in the top 5.
Bryce Harper's 3rd.
Bryce Harper is definitely 3rd.
Bryce Harper. I would actually also put Juan Soto in there. Baseball's big in like the Dominican. He's probably the top Latin American player, maybe.
Him or Vlad Jr. probably.
Yeah, him or Vlad. Right, those are probably the dudes. Beyond that, people couldn't name anyone that they think is a star. And so you just named 5 dudes who are the faces of baseball. 1 is in New York. 1.
And by the way, I'm sorry to cut you off.
And they're getting deals as well.
I'm sorry to cut you off. Snug says the Yankees aren't not the biggest sports team in the world. I'm not talking about soccer. I'm talking about in United States sports, USA sports. Okay.
Well, you said in the world, so that's your bad.
Whatever. Okay. The Yankees are the biggest team and the biggest known. You go to another country right now. I was in Canada.
Right,
everywhere they're Yankee hats all over the place that probably aren't even Yankee fans. So stop it, Snug. Stop it.
I wouldn't. Even as a Boston person, I wouldn't deny that they're a worldwide brand for sure. But like Judge as a spokesperson, as someone to be selling things, he wouldn't even be close. It's Ohtani. He'd be selling everything.
He doesn't know how to speak English. What is he selling?
Doesn't matter. You can put his face on a billboard in Los Angeles. Everyone's going to know who it is.
He's not selling anything. He doesn't know how to speak English. And the way baseball is trying to build, it's not Shohei Ohtani. It's Aaron Judge, who's the face of baseball. He's the captain of the New York Yankees. The Yankees are the biggest baseball team in all of sports. In all of the baseball world, it's the Yankees. When you think of baseball, you think Yankees. That's what you think. That's the facts, and that's the way I look at it. Whatever. I'm not going to argue.
When I think baseball, I think of the Nippon Fighting Man.
Thank you, Jeff, for calling the show, as always.
Always good. I can't wait to see if this Aaron Rodgers dream of yours comes true. I actually think it's
And
gonna be
I
a
can't
big
wait
flop.
to see you eat dog crap. So thank you.
Listen, I'm a person of my word. I will 100% live up to it.
I know
But I
you will.
just want you to mark this down that you've been spending all this time on Aaron Rodgers. And when it doesn't happen and you're crying, I want you to be like, I was wrong, bud.
Goodbye, Jeff. Jeff from Tampa, as always. Thank you for widening up my horizon for today's show. So thank you. Fantastic. As him and Snug are like butt buddies / tag team partners on social media, as always. I have nothing against Snug. He's just a pain in my ass who thinks he's always right, like our friend Jeff. And they're so wrong.
And our friend Mikey C.
Mikey C. Listen, I had a conversation with Mikey C today. We love, going back and forth with baseball. He did mention stuff about, obviously the Daniel Jones move. He didn't like it.
Of course not. He hates
but
Daniel
he
Jones.
said, he understands why he gave him the contract. And I argued my point. And Mikey C always, you can't argue with Mikey C because Mikey C thinks he's 90% right.
Of course.
So, when I caught him and, him trying to argue his points and pinpoint his mistake on what he said, Mikey C kind of flipped it and made it seem like he was right. Just like half the people.
Of course.
But he was wrong. And, whatever. I'm not going to sit here and argue with people if there's nothing to argue about. Listen, Jeff makes quality, arguments. Is Shohei Ohtani internationally, the biggest face in baseball? Maybe. I just think Aaron Judge, when you think of the Yankees, you think of pinstripes, you think of Aaron Judge, you think of baseball. That's what you think.
It's not only that, it's also recent. So,
Yeah.
like, if you were to ask this question at this time last year, it probably would have been Shohei Ohtani.
Whatever.
but-
I'm wrong again, Jeff, but you're the one who's wrong, and you're the one who's going to eat dog poo-poo, okay? And I'm going to prove I'm right. And what are you going to say after that? You're going to sit there and say I'm wrong again, but you're wrong, and I can't wait to stick it down your throat, literally. So, maybe, Snug, maybe you should add to the bet. If Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets, you have to eat dog poop, but you don't have the balls to do it. So that's what I'm going to say. You don't have the balls. So, maybe you should put your money where your mouth is because you think you're always right. Anyways, thank you to Miami sports anchor and reporter Clay Ferrara for joining us. Thank you to a new friend and a guy that I have nothing but my utmost respect, former Rockies, Pirates, and Cardinals catcher and current AT&T Sportsnet MLB analyst Michael McHenry, who was fantastic. He really was. Definitely, if you missed that interview, you guys missed a very good quality interview with one of the probably best interviews we've ever had.
Absolutely.
So he was fantastic. And that's not taking shots at any of the guests we've had on the show over the years. So thank you to everybody, including Jeff for, being Jeff, and Snug being Snug and all the fans being all the fans. We really appreciate you guys as always. And continue to listen to us as always up Saturday, 7 p.m.
No, we're after the game.
So 10:30 p.m. on Saturday, the Weekend Crunch on 103.9 FM. If you don't live here on Long Island to listen to 103.9 FM, go to the LI News Radio. Look up LI News Radio. Look up
LINewsradio.com.
Or what's the other?
TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio. Check them out. And yeah, Mike was awesome. Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Thank you to Keith. Thank you to everybody. All the standout people that are sports fans that like to argue. We want you guys to argue with us. I have no problems arguing and attacking us. That's the whole point of sports radio. And giving you something to entertain it kind of entertain you when you're bored. Some of this crap on radio and some of this crap on TV is just garbage. And I like when Jeff calls up. I like when Jeff argues with me and gives me his craziness, because I will say this, Jeff does know what he's talking about most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. He's a little offset sometimes on some of his arguments, but nevertheless, I have nothing but my utmost respect for him that he calls up and he gives us content to argue about. So thank you to Jeff. thank you to all you guys. Thank you to all the fans out there that enjoy our craziness and just everything. So thank you. Let's keep listening to us. We'll be back on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Again, 10:30 p.m. on 103.9 FM. The LI News Radio, The Weekend Crunch, great show, great content. I'm telling you, if you haven't checked it out, and if you're a betting man, Moneyline Mania, the best handicap show, 15-minute segment you will listen to with some of the best. So if you're a betting man, you have to check it out. I guess that's it. Speedy, you have anything to say before we go?
Moneyline Mania including some of the best futures bets, like the Rangers winning the Stanley Cup. Thank you, Wes.
That probably screwed you guys, by the way. Since he said that, they haven't won, really.
He
won tonight.
He could take it out on the Warriors.
By the way,
Rangers.
congratulations to the Islanders coming back and winning that.
Yeah, they did. Very impressive.
It really was. And the Rangers winning. So, what is he saying right over here?
Big football day tomorrow. Let's cash tickets.
Yeah.
No, Jeff, you're not allowed to steal that from Chaz. That's
By the way, I
Chaz's
lost my
term.
parlay. I did.
That is Chaz's term, Jeff.
St. Louis screwed me. So, I think it was St. Louis that. No, it wasn't St. Louis that. No, it was Nashville that screwed me.
Oh,
Phoenix beat
wow.
them. Phoenix
Damn.
beat them. So, yeah, I would have won, but
Leave it to the Coyotes to ruin everything.
I don't know how that happened. Anyways, good night and enjoy your weekend, guys. We'll see you next week.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.